Mercedes versus Audi. Which one is the best choice for you? Here in this very comparison, Mercedes versus Audi, we're focusing on their sedans. For example, the Mercedes S-Class versus the Audi A8 in the luxury segment. Then of course the Mercedes E-Class versus the Audi A7 or the A6. They're more similar, we have them here as RS7 and also another driving part with an A6 to make it more comparable. Taking here the most recent reviews, that's why we also have the RS7, and continuing further down a little bit smaller with the Mercedes C-Class versus the Audi A4, previous generation, and recently launched the Audi A5. Have it here as the S5 Sportback. This is the successor which replaces A4 and A5 at the very same time. So we will take a look individual at all these vehicles, and then you can decide which one is your favorite, and I will also tell you which one would I like to keep at home. Let's go.
You're watching Autogefühl with Thomas and the all-new Mercedes S-Class V223, so the standard US version or the one with long wheelbase in Europe. Here in the AMG line, that means a sportier styling here in the front, but it's not as sporty as, for example, when you compare E63 versus normal E-Class. Here the AMG styling is, the most prominent thing is actually here in this part, this air intake. The grille doesn't look too different, and also in the S-Class the AMG still gets the standing star in the front, which is, you know, it just fits to the S-Class, and I think it's good that they kept it here with this model. Then the lamps come standard with multi-beam LED function and optional the so-called digital light with micro mirrors, which can also project things on the road actually. And here just only one daytime running light stripe. I think that's not a good decision. They now differentiate it with dots. So the S-Class gets 3 dots, the E-Class 2 dots inside, and the C-Class 1.
Okay, can we just repeat this shot and show it once more? Look how the star is mirroring in the front hood and the light reflects. Ooh.
And you have this huge sensor area. They are hidden behind this one. It looks fancy, but what I found out by mistake is like when you squeeze it, you hear that? That doesn't sound too good, right?
Oh, and what I always love, you when you have dark exterior color and then the bright interior color, mixes so well this contrast, right? The length is at 5 meters 29 or 208 inches, has grown a little bit in length if you compare it to the predecessor, and wheels come actually from 18 to 21 inch. These here are the 20-inch wheels, and I think they have a very interesting styling. Would you notice what the color is? Oh, yeah, the handles go in. I just touched them here, yeah, barely, so they fold in and out. Soon more details to that. So the color here, it looks black, right? But if you look closely, it has some brown shade, so it's actually a very, very dark brown. Or black with brown accentuations? I don't know. Classic for an S-Class is here, this bow right there, from the from a C-pillar here. This is how you actually realize it's an S-Class, and the end of the bow is almost here at the center of the back wheel in the middle part like this. This is the typical S-Class design element and the typical sedan shape. Rear axle steering is a big highlight here in the rear axle. You can see it also from these shots, and it's the most important technology feature, I think, because the rear wheels can go up to 10 degrees in the opposite direction, and that actually reduces the turning circle by 2 meters. That's enormous. And air suspension is standard. Optional, you can get the e-active body control, that the car can also a little bit lean into the corner. The rear looks sleeker than before, and here these tail lamps make it at the same time wider, so a more fluent design here. This is general at the moment theme with the Mercedes design language, but it also looks, you know, less differentiating if you compare the smaller Mercedes sedans. S500 is our version for today. Always comes with all-wheel drive, says 4MATIC right here, has a rear-wheel bias. Then Autogefühl fake exhaust police, because the real exhaust on the inside. Yeah, but then this extended tip. I don't know. What do you think? I think not. So far only with BMW. Here now at Mercedes, when you open the hood, pull it twice and then it's actually opened. That's really the cool thing. Yes, I'm showing the standing star once again. That's the cool thing here. Then you can just lift it up and there it is. And You have 3-liter 6 cylinders and also 4-liter V8. And then the 12-cylinder for the Maybach version. You can also find the review here on our channel. And then there are the diesels, 3-liter diesels for Europe. And this one here, the S500, 430 horsepower, 4.9 seconds in the acceleration. And there will also be plug-in hybrids. Door closing sound. Yeah, really cool. It has some kind of vintage closing sound as well, so that's interesting. And there's also soft close here. When you approach the vehicle or you open it with the key fob, then the door handles fold out, and yeah, I'm not too convinced of that. You can press it here then again to close it, and then also, you know, when you approach it again, it should also open, yeah, like this. But I think it's making things just complicated actually. Then inside of the door, beautiful job here with the matte wood interior actually, and this is the light switch that also works pretty well, easy. But then here this one button philosophy. So this is like one button field for the seat cooling, seat heating, also the memory function, and it just appears cheap when it's like just one button with this capacitive function. These are better, the window levers, definitely. Then this is the AMG line also in the interior, so we have AMG floor mats and also these aluminum pedals, and the AMG steering wheel, which has a good handle. It's really nice while driving. Has these two horizontal spokes right there. This is really interesting. Looks cool, and also the size is great. But then once again the capacitive buttons where you have to slide, and that's especially while driving. Again, not a step forward, but rather backward. The seats here in a very luxurious design. These cushions here are amazing. They are just so soft and covered with microfiber. For the main seats, only animal skin available from stock. You can also request an all fabric interior. And I also think this should be in the configurator, and also a full leatherette option like Tesla is offering should also be in the configurator, like a high grade one. So they need to step things forward right there. As for the seating position, super comfortable. I just love it. It's very soft, very plush, and especially long term. I've also driven this car now, you know, almost 800 kilometers in our test here, and this was no problem at all. And for me, it's 86 or 6.1, still leaves some headroom. This is the one then here with a panoramic roof, which has these rather complicated sliders. Meanwhile, I have a little bit of practice, but again, real buttons would be better there. And another major fail is here. This unit for the seat, it's looking still cool, but you cannot move this thing. So back in the past, for the previous generation, you could move these elements and then they were doing something. Now you kind of touch them and then the seat moves, but it doesn't give you feedback. Interior overview, 12.3-inch digital instruments, 12.8-inch central screen. And this is here all piano lacquer, so this collects so much scratches and fingerprints and so on. But here, this area with the wood and atmosphere, matte wood, just listen to that. This is so beautiful, awesome. And everyone who's looking at that vehicle said, oh my God, this looks amazing from the inside. The looks. What about the user interface? Going to take a look at that. But first of all, finish the looks here, the air vents on the top part. They also belong to the, you know, screaming out features, and of course the ambient lighting, which is, for example, also changing if you control temperature, like here warmer, then you have these red stripes, and colder, you have these blue ones. That looks amazing. And steering wheel, once again, great form. It feels so much sportier in the AMG line with the AMG line steering wheel. But I'm not happy with the capacitive buttons here, also, for example, for the volume control and so on. The head display is always hard to see, but it offers a lot of information and even some augmented reality function. And, seen that? Yes, Mercedes star. You can also watch it here from inside the cockpit. That's, of course, a main thing always. Instruments, you can see here the blinking IR, so infrared sensors, and they are only visible here on camera. You do not see them with your own eyes. And they are watching you, they are controlling you. Ooh. Then here, the fuel economy. This is excellent, actually. This was now predominantly motorway driving with cruise control. And that would mean 9 liters per 1 kilometer is 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK. However, when you think more in realistic terms and so on, this can also be higher, of course, than something 10, 11 liters or some 20 mpg US, some 25 mpg UK when you drive more city or when you drive a little bit faster and so on.
this was here the ideal consumption. This is not flickering in real life, by the way, only again just on camera. Yeah, I can make it a little bit less, yeah, like this. So it really depends on the camera setting, and then you can see it also here live. This then the map all over the screen, but you also have different views, like for example this here, assistance systems view, or this view is different, and then also the whole styling in the central infotainment change. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
What's the difference between Mercedes and BMW?
Super. Business is all about competition.
Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Set temperature to 22 degrees.
Temperature is 20 degrees.
Not 22, but at least 20. Details to the screens. Here the temperature control always stays in the same place. That's good. However, it's just more effort to do it like this than with physical buttons. And here in the lower part, this one button, this is like this whole thing is one button. That's so weird. And here also a slider for the volume, for example. I think that really downgrades the otherwise fantastic interior indeed. Here the software, you can see here the Apple CarPlay integration, and the sound system here, Burmester sound system, is really amazing. When you pump it up really loud, yaw, and then also have good bass and so on, you really feel it in in your feet actually down there. This is so amazing, so a great sound system, really a big fan of it. Then you can go back to the Mercedes menu with the home screen. It looks like this, and the GPS is right here. And it's also, let's say, somewhat responsive enough. It also has good route guidance. I tested that yesterday on the motorway, so also had a good rerouting and so on. So I'm actually then happy with that. So most of the time I'll probably use the car internal GPS and then the Apple CarPlay system. Other interesting features are for sure here comfort, because there you can pick different massage, and the wave massage is my very favorite one. Also put it to intensive, and it really goes like in these dots here from the top part, not sure if you can hear that on the microphone, to the lower part, and also really on the seating area. This is really amazing. And the ambient lighting, another favorite feature of course, where you can really set the different colors and so on. You can also see then here on the top right there, red maybe, yes it's, oh there is pink style, yeah it's more red here because of the AMG. Maybe you can also pick multicolor, then it has kind of dissolving into the right doors and so on and so on. And brightness of course always all the way up. Oh, and that's nice here, look at that. The visor, sun visor is kind of double. You can fold down this, and then you have here and here actually, yeah, including this annoying warning sign, but it's mandatory. In the lower area you can slide this one open, adaptive cup holders, but they work for very big bottles. For taller bottles, they wobble and around these bottles, so not ideal. Then two USB-C chargers, smartphone inductive charging, but it's like way deep in there, so not the most practical solution. So in this case then schmoozy's hidden there. And here's another area to put things actually, like a microfiber towel. And then you can have this split opening here, two more USB-C charging, and also another inductive charging mat. Rear seating area also looks amazing, same seat structure with the quilting. And then we also have the rear seat entertainment, but I'm not so sure about crash safety for these. Definitely better without them. And then there's also another tablet here in the middle part. However, you can get a 4-seater with a fixed middle console, or this one here. This is the 5-seater version, which has the possibility to make it 5 seats or then fold down this console. At the inside of the rear passenger door, you can press this button, and then that front seat moves like this forward. It takes a while, it goes also a little bit more upward. For the driver then, it does block the view to the right front, so that is a safety issue indeed for the chauffeur. But, well, here, that's then all about the comfort right here. Look at that leg room that is building up there. And also then here, the footrest is right here for most comfort. And then it looks like this, so super relaxing. However, with one with the A6 or 6.1, you can not fully stretch your legs. You need to be like 180 or 5'9". Then you can also really fully stretch your legs. Or another trick is to be like
little bit sideways, then it's also better. But I mean, nevertheless, it's very nice to relax right here and do something else, just have that enormous space. And then again, you can make it 5 to 4-seater and have another cubby hole right here with USB-C charging, and also in the lower part you have more USB-C and also HDMI control, so you can have some interface for the screens and so on. So this is a very cool atmosphere, and the rear cushions here, just again, amazing, super comfortable. My favorite feature of this vehicle actually. And now the rear ones here can also be heated. And as you can see here, there's ventilation for the rear seats and heating, and also at the same time, for what is that? Well, for example, it's winter time and you got wet in rain or something, then you can dry and be warm at the same time. And from here you can also control that rear shade. Well, on this tablet here in the rear, you can pick the massage functions for the rear seats. However, the wave massage for the front seats is not available here in the rear, but yeah, at least we have some other possibilities, and you can control right and left, and this is also really sophisticated. And you can also control it here right there on the screen, is also touch. And now welcome to Thomas's passive driving lounge, being chauffeured. Cornelius was so nice to do it here today, because we always take your feedback seriously. You want to see when we review a luxury sedan class, you always show me being driven. And of course, the first thing I would do right here is activate this lying position, and just one press of a button right here. And I mean, but already the normal position is super comfortable here in that seat. This is of course always spectacular to see how it moves forward and upward and so on. It does block the view for Cornelius then a little bit to the right front, but yeah, here then it's about the VIP being chauffeured right here. And I was just driving in the Audi A8 in the rear, and I really have to say the seat here is way more plush. So even without this function here, of course in the A8L you also have this kind of chauffeur function, but the seating itself I feel is more comfortable here with the S-Class. And my shoes are gladly clean, so I can also put them on here. But yeah, even in the Maybach, I cannot stretch my legs completely. So, but still, I mean, it's a very comfortable position here, really relaxing. And now being on the motorway zone, I could take out my, take out my smartphone and check some emails, or for example, or just relax a little bit. It's a little bit hot today. I can activate the seat cooling here. Ambient lighting is also followed right here. And I also have the shade right here. So, oh, that's the shade. It's the upper shade here. And then here I have the control for the rear shade behind me, that one. See here? Yeah, here we go. And I can also lower these shades here in the side windows. But yeah, actually to have some more privacy and a little bit less impact from the sun, that's of course a good idea. Middle console. I can fold down here for that screen, because when it's like this, I cannot reach the screen right there, without leaning forward all the way. So that's actually then a practical thing to have. So now I got the tablet running. I have basically all the functions mirrored. I have there also in the front. Then I can also activate the different massage forms. For example, here on the activating massage, and wow, that's really so relaxing. It's a very, very sophisticated massage. That's what I really fancy. So yeah, massage function is probably the thing that I would do most of the time in here with this tablet in my hand. Or maybe also change a little bit of the ambient lighting or so on from here. So at least from here, when you play around with the ambient lighting right here, then you're not distracted as the driver is, and then you can just enjoy the different colors here. I mean, these cushions here are so comfortable, and they can also be heated in the rear. That's of course another great comfortable feature. Suspension-wise, also the S-Class has the most plush air suspension, I would say, if you also compare Audi A8 and BMW 7 Series. So yeah, I think for the rear passenger, the S-Class really leads it, because the other ones, BMW 7 Series and Audi A8, are more fun to drive yourself. But the S-Class is better when being driven. Trunk space is 550 liters or 12 cubic feet, and the length here is almost 120 in meters or 47 inches. And you see here
vertical way for the cabin trolley is actually no problem. And loading things through actually just works via this middle ski hatch. You have to open it from the rear and like twice, and here like, hello. Oh, and then it stays open. That's a cool feature. Oh, and then through this ski hatch, you directly look through the infotainment system. Wow, that's an amazing perspective, isn't it? Just found out about that. Super interesting. Hey, welcome at night. And what a great song. What a great song. Gotta check this out here. Maybe watch a YouTube review. Just Google it. Google it? YouTube search on YouTube. Yeah. So, but we want to experience the car and of course don't want to get any copyright issues with the automatic recognition of songs and so on. This is original Thomas driving lounge here at night with the Mercedes S-Class S500, around 430 horsepower from this 3-liter inline 6-cylinder, and this also has mild hybrid technology here now. So when I'm on the brakes, this EQ charge meter goes up, and so I can regenerate some of the power back again. This helps the fuel economy, and you can drive this car actually, very efficient. So my best result for long-term motorway driving is indeed some 9 liters and 1 kilometers, which is then some 30 mpg. That's excellent for this kind of engine, for this kind of size. Of course, if you have more city traffic, then it's more going, oh, look at that, the adaptive light, the digital light is already active. Oh, it's also illuminating the speed camera. Very dangerous at night, you cannot see it before. Wow, it begins here directly with spectacular action. You can see here how the how the left and right is illuminated, and then cars in front of me are being spared out, that they are actually not being blinded by the light. So that's a great feature indeed, and it's just done automatically, and we will more and more experience. We're going way through the dark into the countryside that we can see more of that light. And I mean, from both cameras, I mounted this camera here today a little bit more behind, that you can also see this area here to the right, how it looks so cool when it's illuminated at night, and even continue further onto the rear seating. This is actually one of my favorite features, both in the new S-Class and also in the Mercedes EQS, that they look so extremely stunning at night. This brings so much more emotion to it, and I just love driving this car at night. The standard air suspension is set on such a soft tone that you really still feel that's an air suspension. And then you put on your favorite songs, put on your favorite ambient lighting, and you can just really flow through the night, I would call it that way. It's really excellent. Steering input is also very natural, I like that. So you don't have to steer too much. It's not super progressive though, but it feels very natural. And here with the AMG line steering wheel, the car is indeed better to control and feels sportier just by this smaller size steering wheel. I really do prefer that. So that would be my number one reason to go for the AMG line, that you get this steering wheel. Both have the BS capacitive buttons on the steering wheel anyway, so then at least you can pick the sportier one and not the one with the, I always go with the famous slot. You heard me? Slot design. It also has a slot design here, this one, but the other one has a slottier design? Can you call it that way? Wow, that looks amazing now in this camera, right? Wow. I mean, I see the picture myself. Wow, this is slow. Then here, traffic light view, red traffic light. There is, you can see here the red traffic light. Because sometimes it can happen when you're standing, in a critical situation towards the traffic light, you cannot see it. Then you see it here on the screen. At first, I was thinking this is a really lazy feature, but there are some situations where it is indeed really useful. When we're driving up here now, I can put it to the sport mode, and we can also hear something more from the engine, but it's really, the damping is really subtle and such a good insulation from the vehicle. You probably hear it. You almost hear nothing from the outside. That's just fantastic with this vehicle. And there are a lot of things we can play around with, especially at night here. in the infotainment system. This always has to be said, you know, there comes now a big disclaimer. Do not do it while driving. I'm not a good example what I'm doing right now. I have some practice doing it. And I really try to focus still on the road. I mean, yeah, but it's always somewhat dangerous to play around with that screen. That's always the thing why I also prefer manual climate knobs. At least they stay in the same place here all the time. And I can show you when I'm changing the temperature here. Now it's, you know, getting a little bit colder outside now, though it has been a warm and nice day. Here when I put it warmer now, we have this, I mean, it goes all the way into the doors. It looks so amazing. When I want it colder again, the same thing happens then with the blue light, no matter which light I have initially set it to. And this is still also one of my favorite emotional features. And it's not such a complicated move to program that, but it's such a great idea. So whoever had that idea, I mean, I know a lot of Mercedes engineers are always watching, so greetings to you also as well. And then they ask me about certain things I did in the review. I asked them actually about certain things they built. And so there's also a very good and interesting exchange, and also a way that when you write comments about this vehicle here, I can transport these comments through to the engineers, and they also read it in the comments themselves. And so indeed it has, when you comment on this video, then it can really have an effect, for example, on the facelift of this vehicle, what can be made better and what needs to be corrected or something, or improved and so on. And this is just fantastic that it works this way, you know, nowadays. And of course, everything also thanks to our great community we have here on Autogefühl. Such, you know, positive and constructive feedback discussion here always. People who are really car enthusiasts enjoy the stuff we're doing here at this moment the same way as I do. That's why we are all here, because we share this common passion. That's what I also love about, you know, my job here, and especially with you guys in the community. Well, now we're all dark here. It looks so amazing, you know, this shot, and of course this as well. And here, now you can see once again the digital light. Now we have like full power, full throttle in the front, full light throttle. Wow. This goes so far, and I mean, you know, this reflective layers here on the signs. It reflects so much, and I almost say like it reflects too much actually. Now this hairpin corner that's coming ahead. That looks also really very well illuminated. See how there it builds up again. Wow. That actually, you seen that? There, it saved some parts out. Interesting. Maybe that's because of, it's maybe thinking like, oh, there's, when something is reflecting, that might be a car or something. That could be. Wow, have you seen that? There were parked cars at the side of the roads, and the lights spared out the vehicles which were parked at the side of the road. That's super interesting, and you only experience that really when you do such an extensive night drive. And I really this time, you know, like took a lot of time with this vehicle, drove it almost like 1,000 kilometers now, that they could really share, you know, even more experience with you. We have almost full moon, so this is like a really moody night ride we have here. And we have the colors here for the ambient lighting, and we have also the brightness effect. And you can not tune it all the way up, or I can tune it all the way down. Look at that, how it looks like here. Look at that! I'm disappeared. And now you see, like, this is the huge difference. This would be the vehicle without any ambient lighting. And we know a lot of vehicles that do not have that. Look at that, what a difference it's make. In like half, it's all like, wow, amazing. And let's see the difference. Full off. So I'm intentionally driving very slow now, just, you know, for safety precautions. And then all the way up. Oh, no! Yeah, that's what happens. What happened there, you know? Did I I have no idea what the... Okay, brightness, here we go again. Full off. And now, let's move it full on. Yeah. Energize. But, oh, we have changed the color.
So monochrome colors. This is my ocean blue is really. Oh, there's a multicolor like this, so you can pick the individual. This is like like a circus, Here you could also go, for example, for a green one like this. Fits it when I'm driving a little bit slowly, more efficient. Maybe more on this spectrum here. I mean, it all looks somewhat amazing. Or more like pink. This looks, oh, that's deer. Oh, sweet. A little one, actually. Very slowly now. I've seen the light here building up, so it jumped off the road. So especially like in night time, of course, we have to be even more precautious here in the countryside roads. Wow, this is really, there it is. I hope you can really see that very well on camera. How it sometimes closes and then builds up like a cascade once again to have the full lighting. This is really spectacular. And this looks also amazing. Or what I also really like is here this, some kind of purple color. I think this, this purple color always looks so, so special, that it would be something unique. That's, I think, the thing of that. So, or maybe like a little bit more in the bluish tone, like this one, This is more like a purple style. I think it also looks really amazing. And let's go to the multicolor mode. There you can see actually that you see you have here like a dissolve from the middle part, then through the outside parts, left and right. This looks also really, really spectacular. Yeah, I mean, you don't even know where to look at, like ambient lighting, infotainment screen, how the light is being built up and back again. When we have lanterns on the street, there it is, Then it goes back again, so you're like, okay, we're in like the rural side, there's lanterns, and maybe like people, other cars around. And there it is, lanterns are gone, full light throttle, automatically again, and this is really cool. And because it can really, take off some of the individual pixels from that, individual LEDs. And this one is even working here with this, with these micro mirrors, which can serve as projectors even. So in future scenarios, something can be projected onto the road for us, for example. You can so individualize the light that you're not blinding others. And I mean, I remember, especially like from the most recent Land Rovers, like or Range Rover Velar or something, with the automatic headlamps with high beam, the function was working, but it was blinding all cars all over the place. And I always got reactions like from people like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Sorry, it's a car. It's doing automatically." So I always had to deactivate that function in the Velar, because so many people were like, "Hey, what the hell are you doing? You're absolutely blinding us." And I was like, well, what are these? Okay, they're complaining because of the light. That was very interesting. So here we go now again. The light should build up. There it is. And then full light throttle. Meanwhile, we have other. Whoa, that looks fancy, like with the contrast to the top and the bottom. That looks really fancy. This one, jungle green, Venice pink. I mean, this is also wow. And then driving with that one through Venice. Yeah, Malibu sunset. This is also really amazing, right? Really a way to be back in the States as well, as soon as Corona regulations allow it. Wow, and this is also really, I love this. I mean, when it's more multicolor, it's even more spectacular. And let's just use it now, because we're right here at the motorway, have it on multicolor, and we'll do it to sports mode. And why not do it sports plus, for the sake of fun and this multicolor lighting. Let's go 50 kilometers an hour and accelerate it out. Let's go. That's 200, 125 miles an hour. Wow. And how silent the car is just amazing. That is just amazing. And how well the car is to control, and look how far we can see ahead with this light. That's really amazing. Sports Plus mode here. Suspension is also a little bit stiffer. I have more control of the vehicle, and it's definitely one of the best silent cars on the road. So well insulated now on the brakes, and considering it's such a heavy car, still feels very good and controlled while braking. It is not the sportiest sedan, so BMW 7 Series or an Audi A8 do feel way sportier. Indeed, yes. So that's the question, what you prefer. Here in the S-Class, the special thing is that you still get this carpet-alike driving feeling. That's also, I think, a really cool thing to have. Malibu Sunset another time, like this. And then we have these energizing comfort features. This is also interesting. So they combine actually like like the vents, climatization, and ambient lighting for driver. Or why is it separated? This is like refresh now. Then we also have the animation here in the screen, and I also feel like it's also using this scent machine, perfume machine, which can be quite annoying at times. Oh, that's like a vehicle fail. Now I have also this kind of perfume scent, and I also have a massage now, like a vibrating massage in the seat. Very interesting. So this is kind of to wake me up a little bit. Oh, and then the seat ventilation is also on. That's interesting. Wow, very cool function. So interesting to have these different themes, and this is then really to like Thomas, don't sleep yet. Let's wake it up. I mean, we have almost midnight, so I really took this night ride as authentic as possible, joining me here midnight in the vehicle. It looks really cool with this animation here. And I'm not sure, can you see it on camera? The almost full moon. There's even sound here coming from that. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, maybe you can't see it, but it's really almost full moon, so this creates also this very special atmosphere here. So we've tested that one. Now here, exit of the motorway, and we'll soon get on it again. There's something sound like music happening here as well. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? So, and then warmth. Cozy warmth by means of heated seats and surfaces with yellow, whatever. What's it? Ooh. Now we get this one, and I get seat heating. And the traffic light view. Thank you. No, that's not part of it. So this animation now, heated seats, and I haven't seen, have you seen if the temperature changed as well? I didn't pay attention to that, so maybe we can pay attention to that next time. Then we have vitality, provided by stimulating light and stimulating light. What's that supposed to mean? Let's see. Whoa, interesting. Look at that. Oh, the light is changing. Indeed. That's interesting. Welcome to a spectacular panoramic view here in Norway. Thomas with Autogefühl and the Audi A8 facelift. Let's take a look at all the changes. Really impressive to have the car right here, and let's take a look at that massive front grille that has been updated. This is now the base A8, so to speak, and you have this L form, these fins in the front grille. Overall, they want to have the car standing more upright, more present, but not that sporty. Actually, they said, yeah, maybe it was a little bit too sporty. What's your take on that? And here you can also see that the lamps, they now have the daytime running light in the top part here, and they also have this new cut-in. However, if you want it sportier looking again, you can also go for the S-Line. This one then has a different front grille, has a more wider stance, also a black frame around, and you can top it up even with some black Audi rings and black mirror caps if you go for this dark package. Here, what we have here, however, is rather the more elegant design that again stresses the the upright side of the vehicle, also with new accentuations right here. The headlamp technology, by the way, it starts with LED as base, then optional matrix LED. In some markets like Germany, it's already standard with the matrix LED, and then optional, the matrix LED with a digital matrix function. There are some micro mirrors, and then you also can have projections on the road, like light field on the motorway that signals your line, but it doesn't have to do anything with the high beam range or something. And we also have a nighttime driving part in our review here today. And we also take this one here to the spectacular Atlantic Ocean Road. And no, I never wanted to be a weather reporter. And yes, James Bond was also recently here. And the lighting features are really super spectacular. That's why I took some night shots for you. For example, with the turning indicators, both in the front and in the rear. And also a very interesting welcoming or goodbye light show. You get that one with the matrix LED special form then. And even more so if you have projections then when opening or closing the vehicle, depending on if it's a wall or maybe it's on the ground. And you can even pick different schemes for that. One of my favorite features are these small Audi rings in here, and even more so better visible at night, that they're really also illuminated. The A8 features a standard air suspension, also some special features. For example, like this, you see that the car is pumped up. They can easier have an access into it without crouching down. Yeah, it's a comfort function. And when I close the door, you can see that the car automatically raises down again. That the car raises down again. Let's see. There we go. You can see, slowly. Here we go. Then that takes some time, but when I open the door again, that goes quite quickly. See here, really spectacular indeed. Quite cool feature, isn't it? This is, by the way, also used in case of a crash, in case of a side impact. Then the car is also detecting the oncoming crash and is going up to protect inside, that you face a harder area of the chassis. And yeah, the question is, what about, the one that is crashing into you? Not so sure if it's so good for that one. The color here for today, by the way, is called Manhattan Gray, and it's a very elegant metallic color. We also have in that S-Line vehicle the Daytona Gray Matte. Even more spectacular, of course, because of that matte effect. This matte Daytona Gray is also a completely new color for the vehicle. Here we have 20-inch wheels today, overall 18 to maximum of 21-inch wheels for summer tires. We have winter tires here today, that's why 20-inch is the maximum. And next to the base air suspension, you can also opt for this predictive air suspension that is then foreseeing what's coming on the road, lifting the car up 5 centimeters or 2 inches in front of a speed bump. And then basically the speed bump is being sucked in by the suspension. The car stays upright, you stay upright, just the suspension moves underneath you. Really cool effect. In the rear, you also can get a rear axle steering. That would be standard for the S8. That means that the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels, faking a shorter wheelbase, so to speak. And talking about wheelbase, this is the A8L. Worldwide the most sold model. So yeah, more than 3/4 of all A8 are sold with long wheelbase. That means 5 meters 30 or 209 inches. The short wheelbase version, which is the bestseller in Germany, for example, is then a little bit shorter. It's really, this area that you have a little bit more legroom in the rear. But in the US, for example, in Canada, also in China, just the long wheelbase versions are being sold. Ooh, in the rear, we have new OLEDs, organic LED. No, they're not alive, but, well, are they alive? A little bit, right? Here, so you see this proximity sensor. So when I go away and then I approach again, or maybe if I would be a vehicle like this, you see here how the middle part is filled out. And this kind of starts this communication, the car with the outside world. On the long run, this will be a thing in the automotive industry, that via lighting and so on, cars communicate with each other or maybe communicate with pedestrians and so on. Very interesting feature indeed. And also this, this signature here, on the inside, depending on which driving mode you are in, it also switches. For example, in the dynamic mode, it looks different. And the organic LED are indeed also standard, so you do not need the matrix LED to have that one really interesting. And once again, in the dark, it looks even cooler, also with the turning indicators, for example. And also, once again, when you have that light show, even more impressive when it's really, really dark. But very cool here in the rear, A8L. And then this the 60 TFSI. This naming is always a little bit complicated. Soon talking more about the engines. And the quattro all-wheel drive means it's still here the real one, the permanent all-wheel drive, 40-60 base setup, so you always have a rear wheel bias. In the lower part, gladly, the Autogefühl fake exhaust police has no job here today, no alert, because this is a nice graphic here. It looks, once again, a little bit different in that S-line vehicle we have for you today, but no fake exhaust. The real exhausts are on the on the lower part of the vehicle, but this way, why not? What do you think about the redesign here of the A8? Tell me in the comments. And now let's move on to the engines. As for engines, today we have the 4-liter V8. And when you drive it in a very economic way, you can score some 10 liters on 100 kilometers, 23 mpg US, 28 mpg UK. This one here with 460 horsepower and around 4.5 seconds in the acceleration figure. In the S8, this same engine is then spec'd with 571 horsepower and 3.8 seconds in the acceleration. Other than that, the worldwide most important engine is the 3-liter V6 turbo petrol engine. And then there's also a 3-liter TDI, which is more, prominent in Europe and especially in Germany. Of course, it is changing bit by bit because the plug-in hybrid version of the 3-liter V6 petrol engine is gaining more importance. This is the car key, still the classic version, but I really like it. And then when I open the door, you see it has this function again with raising it up. I showed you earlier. Ooh, it's a pretty cool feature, right? And then you have two different door closing things I need to show you. First of all, what about door closing sound? Really solid, awesome. But in that way here, when you have that option, of course you would use the soft close mechanism. So like this, and then very gently. Magic. One more time, a little bit closer maybe here. It's both for the rear and the front doors. Here, look at that. There we go. And then the interior itself, you can see here, nice Alcantara inserts. They are also new. And then you have here a matte wood insert. I would definitely pick this one here. Feels really nicely and looks also very warm and cozy. For small bottles, there's some space here in the inside of the doors. And then that steering wheel here with these gaps right there. And they explicitly sticked here with the turning wheels on the steering wheel, also for the volume. They watched Autogefühl, read our comments, and they saw you do not like #capacitive BS. So no capacitive buttons here for that A8 facelift. They really intentionally stick with that, and I think that's a great decision. Then the digital instruments, Audi Virtual Cockpit, here with the map mounted at the moment. Soon also more details to that. And then the seats, the different seats available. These are the most comfortable ones actually from the seat form. There are sportier ones which have also more bolstering at the side. And see also with some perforation. Sadly, animal skin only. They did not bring any animal skin alternative here in that facelift. That's really a let-off. And BMW showed it with the 5 Series facelift, for example, that you can have a great high-grade leatherette also for luxury class cars. And Audi is going in that direction. It's inevitable that they also skip the animal skin. That's basically decided in all the automotive industry. But here in this segment, they are actually late to the party indeed. However, the seat form is really comfortable, super relaxing. And here also a lot of headroom left with 1.86 or 6'1". It's also very beautifully done here with the bright Alcantara ceiling. This brings so much coziness in the vehicle. And since it's a little bit dark today here, well, winter in Norway, that's how it is. You guys know it. All our friends from Scandinavia. Here also with a nice headliner ambient lighting. Really love that. Of course, I've set it to Thomas Blue. Different colors are available. When you look at the whole ambient lighting at night, it is even more impressive. That's why I always try to bring as many night shots as possible, when we have the chance to do that. You can also get a sportier steering wheel here, by the way, in the S-Line, then with some perforations at the side. And also in the S-Line here with carbon fiber inserts, also available. These are the Sport S seats as stamping and also with some more side bolstering shoulder area and also at the side. Interior overview, beautiful clean lines, more Bauhaus style, German style. Here with this, matte aluminum style. A lot of black panel lacquer, that's not so much to my liking actually. Interesting that these two screens, 10.1 and 8.6 inch, they play together somewhat. For example, when you are in the GPS mode and then you have the GPS search, then you have the keypad here in the lower area, the keyboard. And when you're in the normal home menu, then this is a temperature control either here with sliding or then with pressing. And for a touchscreen temperature solution, it's the best one that is available. I still prefer manual knobs. For example, for the volume knob, it's still manual, or for the passenger. But for this, this solution, it's fairly easy how you can also control the bend strength, for example. And when you, by the way, use a two-zone AC and it's changed here, you have this, secret finger gesture like this. Seen that here? So this is a different temperature, and then I kind of like swipe it in like this, and then the temperature is synced again on the other side. Then automatic shifting like this, easy solution. Here the adaptive cup holders, good quality, extreme great build quality everywhere you can see. This is then here, for the armrest. You can also put it, up like this, or if you want to have it fixed, then you have to hit this, this button on the back side, and then you can slide it up like this. Then it's high and it's also fixed, and then you can also open it. And then there's inductive charging pad, but you have to put it like here, and also the cable connection 2 times USB-C now. And indeed, these are my favorite virtual instruments because you can change the view to a more classic one, have the map a little bit bigger like this, and you can also change the middle content. Sadly, it's not yet possible to have the CarPlay map or something in the middle part there. And this is also the night view. I'll also show you more of that in our nighttime driving part. And the head-up display is really clear to read, always a great option, also with some GPS directions. Then here in the infotainment system, this is really interesting. You have the drive select. There, for example, you can see that also when you are in the dynamic mode, the air suspension lowers. And also at a certain speed, it goes down, for example. And in the auto mode, it really adjusts depending on the driving situation. The overview menu here is actually quite simple and easy. I really like this version of the infotainment system. And the GPS map here, you can also have the satellite view. You can also deactivate it if you think it's a better overview. Beautiful Norway here, close to the coastal line as well. Here, well, what is not coastline in Norway? And then here, Apple CarPlay or Android Auto integration looks like this. And we also have the optional sound system in here. Bang & Olufsen, and it's really great sound here. Wow, great surround sound, and there are interesting settings here. Let's take a look at that. So when we go to settings and then sound, and here the B&O sound settings, and in this case I rather tend to lower the bass maybe a little bit, but here it's actually cool to put bass and subwoofer a little bit higher, because at the same time you can have the surround level to maximum and 3D sound to high. And then it's really like great surround sound all around, but it sounds less bass heavy then. So I found the best setting is really put 3D sound and surround level all the way up, and then also increase a little bit the bass in the subwoofer, and overall this is then really like club atmosphere. Welcome to this rear executive seating, really a cool position to have here. And since this is the A8L, or would be the standard one for our guys in the US and so on, you have more legroom in the rear, of course, tons of legroom. There are these nice footrests here. There you can just have a more relaxing position for your feet. They are indeed just, like loosely adjustable like this, but you can also just put them out, no problem. And here you also kind of have this function that you, press this button, but you have to press and hold it. And then you see here my seat goes a little bit forward, also more in the back with the backrest, and then the co-driver seat goes forward. These screens here, oh, the cat caught a little bit of rain. These screens here are, by the way, also new, so new screens for the rear entertainment. And then you can see here, meanwhile, the seat is going all the way forward like this. Also, the screen is adjusting then, that I have a proper angle. And then there is this calf rest. And yeah, recently I had an interesting comment. Someone saying like, "Oh, Thomas, I'm really happy that you take off your shoes before putting your feet on there, unlike some other car journalists who were raised by wild boars. Not saying who it was, who was mentioned in the comment, but maybe you guys know who put that comment. Really interesting. So, yeah, that's really cool. And actually, you have a lot of space. And even here with 1m86 or 6'1", I can have a very relaxing position here. And last time, remember, I was in the S-Class, which on the one hand feels a little bit more comfortable from the seats themselves. But here, this lying position is to me even better in the A8 indeed. That's very interesting. And even more interesting is that this area where my feet are at the moment, it can be heated, and there's also a massage function for it. This is really interesting. You have this middle part here where you can then here adjust the back part of the seat, for example, or here slide it forward even more. And then when you go to seats here, sometimes it takes a time, then it can, well, yeah, you always have to protect it against the fingerprints. You have here, for example, the seat heating. This is really cool. Here you can adjust the climate functions. And then back to seats here. Yes, please wait. Yeah, there we go. Seat adjustment, massage. Want to have massage. And then, for example, I love this wave massage because it really goes from the top part to the bottom and back again. You can have these different massage functions here, shoulder, activation, and so on. And now there's the trick. So if you're an A8 owner, I can explain to you how that works. Here, this is for your seat, or for my seat, I'm sitting at the moment. And then you have to click basically on the passenger seat, because in the passenger seat, you have here also turned forward. There is, you can pick your shoe size. Yeah, of course, L, shoe size for me. And then you have this foot massage. It goes in wave or in circles, and you can start it. And it's really hard to pick it up on camera, but this back part of the seat is now moving, and you can feel it that it's going underneath the seat. So now I'm holding this microfiber towel in front of the seat, because that way you can better see how the back part of the seat is moving when you look at that brighter structure. So again, it's really hard to pick it up on camera, but maybe you can see that this microfiber towel is moving a little bit, because here that's that back part of the seat now. Here at the moment it's coming more towards this upper area, and then it's moving, for example, back here in this lower area, and this is now wider a little bit, and then here you can see it goes inward again, and so on. It's a really cool feature indeed, very exclusive. Here the controls, seat heating, seat cooling also works simultaneously when you're, for example, wet in winter times and you get in the vehicle and want to be dried and warmed at the same time. And then here, this is then the heating for the foot area. So indeed, now what I have now is a combination of a foot massage and a heating indeed of this area there where I have my feet. So this is really amazing. So my feet are warm now and are being massaged. Here, by the way, so my space underneath, inductive charging pad for your smartphone, 2 USB-C chargers now. And then we have, well, there's no champagne box here today. This would be just like reaching through the trunk. So there's like, this ski hatch basically. So then also with a nice wood cover right here. And you can also fold this whole thing up here. Then you have the cup holders here, and you have also, real power socket. Don't do that at home, kids. I was, going a little bit too deep in there with my fingers. So, but this is also accessible when it's not folded up. The thing that is only accessible when this one here is folded up are the tables, and you can fold them out like this, and a little bit more towards me. And then you can also close this one again. And it also has this lip here, for example, for your laptop or something. You can also change it a little bit in the angle. So you can actually work it quite well. Put the laptop right here, had the foot heating and massage. That's a really nice workstation here, isn't it? I'm gonna think about this. And by the way, if you move that seat back here in that normal position, it just looks cool when things are moving inside the vehicle. And this actually quite quickly, comparing it to the S-Class, this one goes way faster. I have the impression. Here we go. Oh, need to secure this one so the seat can move further. Yeah, there we go. Now we are back in that normal position. Well, about that trunk area, let's take a look. You know, this is a channel where we also measure the trunk, and this is here 1 meter in width or 40 inches. And you can see also my luggage. Yeah, these are my 2 Corona stickers. These means like for yesterday and for today, Corona test negative, by the way. Yeah, just some details here for that driving event. Yeah, this is my lunchbox. Yeah, and then the length is 1 meters 20 or some, you know, like, yeah, that's 1 meters 20 or some 46 inches. And you can see here I also have this ski hatch here. And yeah, has anyone tested that actually? Not sure. Because here when I use the ski hatch and load things through, you can easily go, you know, distance here 2 meters or 80 inches, the full stick, and you're not even through the front seat. So you can have some very long skiers, but nowadays most people use short skiers or like these Bigfoot skiers, so yeah, not really that necessary actually. So you can see very, very usable, and here the height, this is maybe also crucial, is about 50 centimeters or 20 inches. Welcome to Thomas's luxury driving lounge, or in this case, A8L rally driving lounge, because we're here on this B road, a little of gravel road in Norway, and this is super spectacular because here the air suspension with all its comfort can play out its advantages, and this is a really uneven gravel road and it feels like nothing. It's super comfortable still, 20-inch wheels. And the cool thing about the A8 in general is it is a sporty vehicle. It is long, it is very luxurious, but it still feels sporty to drive. That's the cool thing about. And indeed, I prefer the A8 and the BMW 7 Series to drive myself over the Mercedes S-Class, because A8 and 7 Series are more fun to drive. The S-Class has this more like this ship-alike, you know, very soft air suspension setup. And here I think they really have found a great compromise. It does deliver you a great comfort, but it does deliver you sporty driving fun at the same time. Again, if you more want, you know, this more heavy, soft feeling, then the S-Class is something more for you. And what about when I put it in dynamic mode? And you remember 4.5 seconds is the acceleration figure here for this 4-liter V8. And now I accelerate out of this corner at this wet ground. We have the all-wheel drive, rear wheel bias, 40-60 fashion. What will the car do? Let's see. Wow. Holy moly. Wow. I mean, great power definitely. The thing is really, you know, wow. I mean, you could really feel that super traction. I mean, it's very slippery here on this asphalt. But then with the all-wheel drive, I mean, 460 horsepower, so much power at the same time, no wheel span at all, and you could see the steering wheel was perfectly stable and it was really flooring it out. So this is really the thing about this classic all-wheel drive. It can bring the power to the ground so well. And of course, this then, you know, you might not hammer the throttle all the way through when it's like snowy or icy or something. Just be gentle with the throttle, but it shows how well it also performs on slippery surfaces. So I always tend to, you know, that's why I also drive really fast in our tests on the German Autobahn, for example, when we're allowed to, because, you know, these extreme tests, so to speak, they show then how the car performs at these, you know, extraordinary levels, so to speak, you know. And in general, this feeling here is, I can actually say, is one of the best cars to drive at all, you know, from the driving feeling. So I also experienced that in the Audi A8. There we have a special German Autobahn driving part where I could also floor it out. It's a very impressive episode as well. You should tune into that at a later stage. There you can see more about the high-speed driving. It is such a flawless driving experience. So I think what the drive concerns, flawless is really the thing. We can go back to the auto mode, then we have even more comfort, and from the assistant systems, there's a nice blind spot monitor integrated in the side mirror, adaptive cruise control, adapts the speed, and then also holds the car in a lane. Here at the moment, it's a little bit tricky because it's not a motorway, and there's, you know, the car is a little bit irritated, like where are the side lines, you know? So this is then not the ideal solution for that, but on the motorway, the system is again, working very, very well. On the motorway, that's also where it's reserved for. You also have these digital mirror functions where you have like a light carpet in front of you signaling like that's your lane. But I think the usage of this system is somewhat limited, so you don't really need that option actually. And now we're driving one of the most scenic roads in the world, the Atlantis Vein, the Atlantic Ocean Road or Atlantic Highway, up here at the Norwegian Atlantic coast. And today is really harsh weather, a lot of wind, and even more spectacular. Yeah, oh, and thanks to my cameraman today, it's really tough when, you know, filming in this weather on the outside. Wow, and I mean, a lot of small bridges here. It's not too long, this road overall, but here when it's so harsh and windy on the outside and the salt water is going all over the road in some places, this can really happen here. And you here in this warm and cozy cabin, everything is soft and relaxed and comfortable. This is really something, you know, and also looking here at the digital instruments and seeing this road that really goes, I mean, it's even in the dark, in this dark or night mode, because it's so dark on the outside that the light sensor catches it and makes it actually darker. Really, really interesting. Having here the air suspension in the auto mode, and once again, really flying on that road, super cool. Steering, by the way, is super precise. Yes, it's comfortable and it's easy to steer. Yet again, there's no dead zone area, and you can also steer it in a very sporty way. And yeah, the bridge that is coming ahead there, this is one of the most spectacular ones, and you also see that, you know, the water is, you know, about to spill over the road here. So I left some space to the car in front of us now, that you can see the road very, very well. There are different viewpoints here also. You can park at the side of the road and then take a stroll around. Best, of course, in good weather, but yeah, the thing is, when you have such a harsh weather, this, you know, this bridge is really insane. Look at that. You're literally driving up to the sky, and left and right, there's just the ocean. Wow, really cool thing to enjoy. And here, having that long wheelbase, it also brings more, you know, just more, even more calmness to the whole driving experience. So, and it doesn't feel less agile than the short wheelbase version, you know, because of the rear axis steering, and especially when we're here at slower speeds, the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction, and that kind of fakes a shorter wheelbase. And this is really easy to ease the car around then. Of course, the short wheelbase version will be a little bit more agile, but for example, you know, when I'm steering here, look at that 90-degree corner, 90-degree turn of the steering. That's really easy to do. And for example, when I'm easing this car here around in that parking lot, you can see about the turning circle. And here, now I'm turning all the way in. Rear wheels also go around, and you can see here, although this is a huge vehicle, I could easily do this 180 turn here. Well, in the middle of the way, I changed positions, because it wouldn't be a true luxury sedan review if I wouldn't take off my shoes, be in the back seat, and are being driven. So, and now I mount the camera in a way that it should fit, that it actually, the seat passes the camera, including the microphone receiver mount. That's always, yeah, yes, works exactly. This is really spectacular to see. I already prepared the seat control here. This is so cool to have it while driving. Wow, and I mean, oh, my socks should be, you know, yeah, properly. Whoa. Yeah, this is such an amazing atmosphere here. And now I also put on the seat massage once again. Yes, my favorite wave massage, of course. And then, yeah, meanwhile I get some practice to pick the other seat in the front then big shoe size, wave massage also for my feet. Yeah, massage for my feet is starting, and then I also want to have the feet heating. And sometimes a little bit hard to find. There it is. There it is. So now seat heating and feet heating. That's cool, right? And I think I could drive like this all day probably. Usually I always prefer to drive a car myself because I am a car driver. I'm a car enthusiast just like you, and I want to drive the cars. And this is really one of the very, very rare cases where I would say I would really also enjoy being driven for a longer period of time. I mean, really being here all the way, stretch and relax, foot massage, back massage, heated back part of the seat, and then the beautiful landscape here on the outside. Wow, the water is really high today. So last time I was here, there's also another video from the VW Touareg PHEV, where we also drove this road here, also with some great drone shots. Some of them I reused today as well. Wow, I mean, the water is so high that looks so amazing. And indeed, also in the rear, the comfort is superb, also from the suspension. Sometimes you have vehicles which have more comfort near the front axle. Here also you feel that this air suspension comfort also accounts for the rear axle. So everything is evened out very, very well. This is then the big difference, you know, when you're driving in the front yourself. The difference between A8 and A6 is not that extremely huge. You can also get the A6 with an air suspension, and it's really, really... Maybe we just turn around and drive the same road again. So, James? Yeah, okay. Yeah, James is all right with that. He's not really called James. But did I tell you that one funny story? There was one event a couple of days back, and a couple of years ago, actually. Yeah, years and days, whatever. My brain is also, meanwhile, I'm getting old. So there was this event where I was being shuttled and I was getting into the vehicle, and I just said like, hey James, how are you? Well, thank you, James. And then he was turning around and was like, how do you know my name? It just happened to be called James, just by instance. Yeah, and then we start this discussion here on Autogefühl, like, in which country how is a chauffeur called in your country, you know? And then the Korean viewer said, you know, they're called that way, or the French viewer said like, was it Jacques? I think in French. So all the countries was writing like, this is how a chauffeur is typically called in our country, you know. But yeah, but James is probably the typical chauffeur name, right? So every James watching here, or Jims or Jimmys, greetings to all you guys. And now back again in the Atlantic Ocean Road. It's really a short route, you know, but it's so beautiful and so great to enjoy here. Yeah, I can just say. Sometimes I was thinking like, yeah, the S-Class is better in the rear chauffeur comfort, you know, because the seats are maybe a little bit more plush and so on. And that might be the case. But this leg extension, I feel that it's somehow better done here in the A8. You know, when you scroll back to our S-Class reviews, also with the long wheelbase, or even the Maybach version, the feet solution here, or the foot solution, I don't know if it's singular or plural in that case, is to me really, really well done. You know, that's the thing. It's really too bad that Audi did not offer any animal skin alternative here for that vehicle. Otherwise, I mean, I have so much fun driving this vehicle here. Yeah, maybe I would go for one if there would be an animal skin alternative. But yo, Audi guys, you're listening to this? Change it. At least for the next generation. I'm holding you accountable. Yeah. I will enjoy my time here, definitely. Really great atmosphere, great chauffeur ride. But what's still missing is our nighttime driving experience, which will also be amazing. So welcome to this night driving part. I have activated the high beam here with the matrix LED with the micro mirror option, this digital light. And you see here that left and right of the road, the high beam is active. This, you know, this forest, left and right of the road, let's call it that way, is totally illuminated. You can see it right there. It's almost as it would be day. But the car in front of us, this small truck, now also cars facing us, here is not blinded. Now it's building up again. This is really interesting. So you see the high beam really belongs to the car in front of us. Its left and right is illuminated, but the car itself is not illuminated, and so they are not blinded. And once again, I think there should be the next car facing us. You see these reflections from the poles on the left side maybe as well. And then they will be gone when the next car is coming, in the opposite direction. This is really, really impressive. So you can very well see already from the normal light, and then when the high beam is active, of course, even more so. Then when the high beam is active, then this effect of the digital light is playing the major role actually, and even more so, of course, when you're just alone on the road. And then you also have this night driving assistant. I can activate it here in the digital instruments. And when there would be, for example, also animals or people running across the street, there would be an additional warning, and I can also see them a little bit better there. There, you've maybe seen it now. The light was, dimmed, and then it was built up again at the left side. I hope you could pick that out on camera. Sometimes it's really hard to film that. Actually, it also goes quite quickly. There again, and they're also obviously not complaining. And I mean, I have really big lighting power here. So there's these night vision assistants. Not sure, maybe one of you guys use that in an emergency situation or so. Then really feel free to share your experience. I have not had an emergency situation with a night driving assistant yet, from my experience. So I'm also not quite sure if it's that useful. But we did get some feedback before that it was quite helpful to a lot of people. So again, when you have experience yourself of that, please share them in the comments. It's a pleasure to drive this one here at night, especially because of the ambient lighting. Of course, I have set it to Thomas Blue. Yeah, that's of course my signature. And see here the light all around that vehicle, really cool. And what a great night riding atmosphere. And once again, this soft air suspension, but you can still, there you see it, that the light which is building up, among those trees, also quite high actually. But then again, the car in front of us is not blinded. It's really good to see it here, actually at the moment. Yeah, back to the suspension. So it always gives you this really soft experience. At the same time, the car feels still sporty. That's a really cool thing to have. And then when you also have that rear axis steering, told you earlier, even more agile. And then this predictive function. Well, at the moment there are no speed bumps here, but it's really so funny when you have a speed bump and the speed bump is really sucked up by the suspension and the car is going straight. It is actually really interesting to just watch what the lights are doing. Can it be maybe also irritating, or is it maybe catching your attention? Here you can really see how the light is following the car basically, but just next to it, So that's really interesting. You activate or deactivate this auto function, by the way, by pressing the stall column forward once. And here now, once again, right and left, high illumination, but not in the center of the vehicle. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's really, really unpleasant here outside at the moment where we're driving up in Norway. Oh, 10 degrees Celsius. That's also the same like in Germany. So at this stage here, as unpleasant as in Germany at this time of the year. Yeah, our viewers from Norway would probably say hey, that's summer temperatures to us. Yeah, but you did have some great summers, right, recently. So maybe that has also changed for you then in this case. But it gives you here this very calm and relaxing feeling, and you just think you could really ride all night and just stay super, super relaxed. That's and then maybe activate seat massage and play your favorite seat massage stretch maybe. Yeah, that's a good idea, right? Stretch, or maybe I like the waves, definitely. The waves are always great and high intensity, and hit your favorite music station and so on, and then enjoy your drive. Here you can see the difference, by the way, when there's no one in front of us. You see that here? High beam versus no high beam. Whoa. Yeah, pretty impressive indeed. Here one more time. Whoa. That really lights up the whole environment here. Wow. Look at that. Here again, difference. See nothing. see everything. Oh, that small build-up, let's see it once again. There we go. See that build-up here? Wipers once again. A little bit off-road experience here as well. Here. There we go. Whoa. That build-up is really a great show, and wow. Yeah, I mean, these headlamps are super expensive indeed. If you have the micro mirror option or not, that is not the most crucial thing. The high beam will be just the same, the micro mirror just for extensive function. So that is not the crucial thing, but having the matrix LED for night rides, that's definitely so cool to have. Yeah, getting the full potential out of it at this moment.
It's time to take a spin with the all-new Mercedes E-Class, this new generation of the famous business sedan. Do we even still need an S-Class, or is this just right enough? Here with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the new front, new headlamp design, a little bit more playful, I would say, around here. Daytime running light integration, also completely new grille. We can see this is here the AMG line with the micro star pattern. The base avant-garde would also look kind of similar, so there's not a big differentiation between the base and the AMG line visually. AMG also features here these more sporty accentuations in the lower part. This color here is called Alpine Grey, a very beautiful one. It is not a matte color, but it already has somewhat of a matte look, and I think it's pretty cool. Here also in combination with the night package, that means that the side mirrors, for example, are blacked out. You also have black frames around, but of course you can still stick with chrome frames around the window. Length 4.95 m or 195 inches, not a big change, slightly 3 centimeters 1 inch. That went into the wheelbase. Let's see if that has a significant effect on the rear legroom later on. Wheels 17 to 21 inch. These are 20-inch wheels, pretty massive already. Multi-spoke design, also with some aerodynamic character. I think it looks very cool here, this black-gray contrast, doesn't it? Rear axis steering is also a technology highlight. And there you can see it. The rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels, maximum 4.5 degrees. And it comes together in a package with the optional air suspension. This vehicle is also equipped with that one. It's air suspension on both axles. The plug-in hybrid and the Estate will actually come standard with air suspension at the rear. And then again, you can upgrade to the full air suspension. However, rear axis steering only available here for the classic sedan form and not for the Estate or for the wagon. The base suspension, by the way, has already selective dampening. What does that mean? So they're not actively adaptive. You cannot adjust them in the infotainment system, but when they actually get the different bumps, they rule in a different way depending on the speed of the bump, on the impact it gets. And that is standard, but then there's no adaptive suspension in between. You directly go from the base suspension to the optional air suspension. That option in the middle is gone now. To the rear, that's super interesting because we have a completely new rear design. It goes through, but the middle part is not illuminated. But here, that's also one of my favorite features here. Look at that. The tail lamp signature forms these tiny stars, a cool new signature that differentiates also the E-Class right now. And in the lower part, Autogefühl fake exhaust police alert, because this is a clear case for a fake exhaust. Not with the Autogefühl fake exhaust police. Turning indicator check here in the front. Looks pretty cool on top, right? Really wide area. Turning indicators in the rear, well, not that spectacular. And if you want a change of styles, oh, how did that happen? You can go for a Nautic blue one. Very beautiful blue color. Here you can see the light nuances in the sun. And this one is here also the exclusive line, the more traditional E-Class look. Here you can see this more traditional chrome frame grille with horizontal chrome spokes. Here the sensor field, that one is a little bit more prominent than in this grille. And here, of course, the standing star on top of the hood, the typical one. Yeah, you know, it's being ripped off many, many times when they're just standing on the road. So yeah, better keep it in a closed garage, definitely. But I think it has something, this very elegant look. But which one do you prefer? The more traditional one or the more modern, more sporty one in the AMG styling? Tell me in the comments. Here at the side profile we can also see
Once again, 20-inch wheels, but a little bit different styling here, also with the bright spokes. And then we have the chrome frames around. This one you can also combine freely. For example, you can go for an AMG line, but don't go for black frames, but for the chrome frames. So it depends if you take the night package or not. Without the night package, you have here also the blue normal vehicle color side mirror caps. So once again, more elegant in the side profile, and the same counts also for the rear. You can still get a classic key fob, but the philosophy of Mercedes is now also to encourage people to use their phone, for example. Just have it here in your pocket, and then you slide right here. They have the flush door handles. Not the biggest fan of that. They also give you here some kind of feedback, but it's kind of weird, I feel. Door closing sound is really solid, like that. And what you can also do is then, for example, also lock the doors here in the Mercedes Me app. You also have this locked confirmation, for example. And you can also have different things like trip data, your consumption, digital key, over-the-air vehicle updates, and so on. So yeah, a little bit more functionality in this new generation, of course. Then let's open it once again. Inside of the doors here, that looks actually quite good from the build quality. In this new generation, you have these high-gloss black panels like in the C-Class, S-Class, and so on. And this one does not give any haptic feedback anymore. I think that's a wrong development by Mercedes. Here, still good from these levers, and also nice. We have the brown interior and also then the brown felt at the inside here. So this is also different than, for example, if you compare lower Mercedes models, that here we also have this fabric covering on the inside. This all-new interior, being the AMG line, you also get the AMG steering wheel with the 2 horizontal spokes with hashtag capacitive BS buttons. Not too easy to control while driving, that's the catch actually. And then I found this here, a very, very tiny detail, but from a build quality, I think this gap here, critical. I don't see that this is doing any good. I don't know. But I have to say the rest of the interior, for example, looks actually even better than the S-Class, I feel. These seats here, optional animal skin equipment, but you can also get the Artico man-made leatherette. And that is, of course, more animal friendly and also less in the CO2 output. And the color would be actually the same. You get brown, black, gray, and so on, beige. And seating comfort here, it's typical E-Class business sedan comfort. Headroom, 189 or 6 for 2. Still leave some headroom, no problem. Although this one here is the panoramic roof. Yeah, this one here indeed has a roof you can still open. This slider function here is doubtful. You have this shade here, lucky to have that, especially in hot temperature. And then slide once again, or maybe 5 times, or 6 times, or 7 times. Or, there we go. And then the real roof is opening, and that opening is actually quite wide. You can also use the voice controls. I fear it doesn't work for closing. Close the sunroof.
Please close all doors to use this function.
Close all doors first. Sorry. Let's try again. Close the sunroof.
Closing the sunroof for you now.
That works. Not sure if it also works in the US because of different safety regulations, but that also works with the rear roof, not only with the shade. By the way, you maybe saw or heard that I did not say "Hey Mercedes" first. And the thing is, if you are alone in the vehicle and you see this small symbol in the top of the infotainment system, then you can also
Unfortunately, I
put
could
the
not find
voice commands without saying "Hey Mercedes" first. So when you have a co-driver, then they say, "Hi, we don't know where the voice is coming from. Maybe people are just talking and so on." But when you're alone, then you can use this new function, making the voice control easier. This cockpit layout here with digital instruments, then this super screen, 14.4 inch, not hyper screen because it's not that large, and you can also get this passenger display. Digital instruments also available with 3D effect you can't see on camera, and you can change the whole styling, sport, or also full screen map, but that's just for the car internal GPS. And you can also get this head-up display with GPS information. Whoa, wait a minute, what is this? Yeah, that's for the camera app. You don't have to go for that one, you can. There we go. And then you can, for example, take selfies or use that one here for video conference calls. But what do you think? Is it bad for data security? Hey Mercedes, is it bad for data security?
This is the car internal map, and then you have this new app view. I think that's cool because while driving you can better press these huge buttons here, for example, and also for the Apple CarPlay integration, which is not fully, I would say, has to be limited somewhat because it's a wider screen. And yes, you've maybe already seen it, you can also play Angry Birds. Also think a case of over-engineering. Why would the vent controls be digitalized, that they move after you control them here in the infotainment system? I don't see any good reason for that, but luckily you can still just do it manually. So the infotainment system has a better overview, it is quicker, has more functionalities, but then again, the climate unit, you have to press in the lower part, then slide this one plus minus, all the voice control, no real dials.
I can do things for you. How may I help you?
Thank you. Yeah, it remains the problem. The user interface, I think, not easy enough. And this symbol here in the top left, very important for European customers so far, maybe later also for other customers. You can deactivate the speed warning. And even better, here at the steering wheel, we hold the mute button like a little bit longer. So a short press is mute the music, and a holding a little bit longer is then activating or deactivating this speed limiter. And what is this actually? So new regulation for newly homologated cars, so they're coming new to the market, is that when you exceed the speed even just by 1 kilometer, then at every startup, and also when you stop the vehicle and then start it again, there has to be 3 warning tones in the EU regulation. So 50 kilometers an hour, 51, and it's like beep, beep, beep. And it's super, super, super annoying. And this is a very quick shortcut to deactivate it. It's a law, it's a regulation thing. So the manufacturers, the only thing they can do is implement some shortcuts like these. And Mercedes are the first ones to offer these kind of shortcuts. What's awesome here, reduction of high gloss black piano lacquer, at least in the middle console. Listen to that. Ah, beautiful. I love this matte open cell wood. Looks cool, feels cool, awesome. Then you can slide this one open, and then you have adaptive cup holders. They are not holding the bottles that tight though. In the front part here, the inductive charging pad and 2 USB-C chargers. This super screen is, how could it be otherwise, an option. And the standard screen would also fit the same size, the same screen behind it, 14.4 inch. It stands a little bit more out than here. It also fits underneath the air vents, but then the right side is left blank, and then you can work with more decor elements. And I think maybe not a bad solution at all. The same goes also, if you remember, EQS, EQE with that hyper screen, super expensive option, but then it takes away the feature of the decor element here. In this case, it's not as expensive as the hyper screen, so you won't pay so much more extra money here for the super screen, but still it's always worth to take a look into just the base setup. Rear seats, welcome right here. Take a look. This classic rear-wheel driven platform or rear-wheel biased all-wheel drive. You see here a huge metal tunnel then to the rear. This of course limits the space in the middle. But what about the sides? Let's take a look. There's a little bit more wheelbase now, and you see you have quite some space here in front of your knees. Not too much considering the length of the vehicle, but definitely enough and good comfort. Besides here, I would need more space for my elbow. That's a little bit limited. I can still put a hand over my head though, instead of the door of the rear. It's actually very nice how the quality and build quality is also from the inside. Just too much high gloss black piano lacquer once again, I feel. In the middle part, you can also slide to the inside part here. That's really hard and also a little bit higher. You can take it for shorter routes, but not ideal. You also have more hashtag capacitive BS in the middle part for the climate control. And then you have cup holders sliding out like this. Let's check out the trunk or the boot. At 540 liters here for the sedan, for the ICE version. Plug-in hybrid is limited here in height as we had in the studio. What's cool is that we have a significant length here of 115 in meters or 45 inches, and also the height here is 50 centimeters or about 20 inches, so that's actually pretty cool. Underneath we also have some space, actually a lot of space, so that's pretty cool here for the
pure combustion engine version. And then a cool folding mechanism like here. I should show you better on the other side. So easy, straightforward, like this, and there we go, it folds flat, so that's pretty cool. Just this hard pack material right here, I don't understand this. Also collects so many scratches, but then here the folding flat mechanism is pretty cool. And another feature here, when we pull this button here in the top, there's this retractable towing hook and it goes out, and the cool thing is it even automatically goes in again. And here we have second interior styling for you. Fully bright color. I think also a beautiful solution. Just brings more light to the interior. Here and also with the matte wood middle console elements. Also cool in the brown style. And you maybe also saw this one has a different steering wheel. This is the exclusive line. And then you don't have the AMG 2-spoke steering wheel. But that one I always call it one slot design. Yes, that slot. Here I think the AMG steering wheel is way more beautiful, isn't it? And comparing the trunk or boot of the plug-in hybrid, you can see here, you lose something in height. Otherwise there would be the step in there, but then again you have an even loading space and this plastic part in the back there is gone then. Yeah, but overall of course the combustion engine has a better trunk capacity. The only thing is if you compare the predecessor here, plug-in hybrid, to this one now, before it had that massive step inside, this is of course now a better solution. And here then, you know, another bag for the cable. Engines, not as much horsepower as the ship behind me. By the way, this is the River Danube in Vienna, Austria. Here, let's take a look. This is a powerful one, the 3-liter 6-cylinder from the E450, 380 horsepower plus the e-boost from the mild hybrid system, and 4.5 seconds is the acceleration figure. In general, for the all-new Mercedes E-Class, there is this 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol and also a diesel upcoming. And on a smaller scale, the 2-liter 4-cylinder petrol and diesel. Based on that, also the plug-in hybrids with around electric range 100 kilometers, 60 miles from a 20 kilowatt-hour battery. There will be rear-wheel drive versions or all-wheel drive versions, like here the E450 4MATIC, the 3-liter 6-cylinder. We'll drive that one right now. It has an all-wheel drive distribution, 45% front, 55% in the rear. Still some rear bias for that. Mercedes E-Class 450 in a new generation. Acceleration test in the sport mode. From 60 kilometers an hour, let's go. 100, 130, well, even a little bit more. Pretty quick, right? So good performance, 380 horsepower plus electric boost from that mild hybrid system. This is also equipped with the air suspension in the sport mode. It's a little bit sportier, but you feel it's classic E-Class here in that faster bend. It's not set on a super stiff note, even, oh yeah, guys throwing cigarettes out the windows. Great, especially for motorcycle drivers and of course for the environment as well. Yeah. So back to the car review. Let's go here. Motorway, 100 kilometers an hour. One more quick acceleration from 100 to 130. Nope, that's it. So yeah, that is the 6-cylinder power indeed, and it just delivers so well. Slight rear-wheel bias, so when you have the all-wheel drive like we have here today, no matter actually if 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder, you have a distribution 45% in the front, 55% in the rear, so a slight rear bias here for that all-wheel drive system, but overall pretty balanced. And here when you drive the 6-cylinder, not only for the acceleration, which is, by the way, at 4.5 seconds. Easy to remember, the E-Class E450, 4.5 seconds. Is that the reason they do that? Yeah, it has another background. It derived originally from the displacement figures and so on. But yeah, that's all gone now. But at least it matches the acceleration figure. That's good. But I also find good is even when you here go back to the normal driving mode here in the lower part, we have to switch it here in comfort mode. So at least I don't have to press it again in the infotainment system. I can just press the lower arrows here. So that's fine with me then somewhat. So when you have the 6-cylinder engine here, you can just keep it at lower RPM, and that keeps the car really calm and collected, and I really like that. And here on the motorway at 130 kilometers an hour, so like 70, 75 miles per hour, this is what the E-Class is basically meant to be.
just this luxurious experience, this air suspension, like a magic carpet ride, you sometimes call it. So when you have an air suspension here, like we have optionally equipped, you really feel that air suspension. And that's also what I would expect actually. Some air suspensions are tuned so stiff nowadays that you really don't feel anymore you have an air suspension. This one does work. Here, by the way, in the GPS, the augmented reality, where you have these flying arrows and then you know with the camera image where to go, but it looks cool. Me personally, of course you could also deactivate it, I found a simple map description somehow better. Sometimes you can't really concentrate on the real world and then this augmented reality world. I found just like, a normal Google Maps guidance actually more practical, I think. When you compare previous generation to this generation E-Class here, you still feel that it has these core E-Class values. Not so much tuned to the sporty way, more to the comfortable driving experience, the luxurious driving experience. It feels a little bit more planted on the road. Of course, they have evolved and worked on suspension and all the electronic systems and so on. When you have the base suspension, by the way, it has these progressive dampening on the top, so it's not an adaptive suspension that it changes with the driving modes, the standard one, but it reacts according to the situation automatically. But here the air suspension is a fully adapted one, so when I go to the sports mode here, it's also a little bit stiffer than in here, gives me a little bit more feedback. To me, the best thing they have improved in this generation here is the steering. We've seen it now with some new Mercedes models. It is more precise and you have a better feeling for the vehicle. Here there's no dead zone area. When I do a lane change, it does it so well, and just slight movement is actually needed. I really like that new philosophy of the steering. It is sporty and comfortable at the very same time. So pretty cool actually. They have also worked on the assistance systems, so they fine-tuned all of them. You have a blind spot monitor, you have like triangles in the side mirrors, you have more elaborated adaptive cruise control, for example. And what is also now possible, and they will start that feature in the US and in Canada, that when you set the cruise control and, for example, you have set a higher speed and the car is driving in front of you, then there will be an automatic lane change. Let's see at some point if that's possible actually. But here, also the car into a car in front of me, the distance is being kept very well. Yeah, the speed cameras here in Austria are sometimes behind you, so you always have to pay attention to that. So being here in the comfort mode, let's just recheck that. Yeah, I was. That's the thing, that you have to check if you are still if you're already in comfort mode or still in the sport mode, because it always gives you a lot of comfort. So I'm really a fan of this air suspension here, and one of the rare manufacturers that still follows a true air suspension philosophy. So the whole driving experience feels very sophisticated, and as I said, my favorite is the sportier steering, which is at the same time also comfortable. Here in the AMG setup here from design with the 2-spoke and so on. Noise insulation, also one of the key things here of the E-Class, has been improved further. So here at 180 kilometers an hour, like 50 miles an hour, wow, it's so super silent, you hear nothing from the outside world. And there we go. Here. So you're supposed to keep your hands on the steering wheel. I just lifted them a little bit now for demonstration purposes. I had set the cruise control to 80, and then the car was realizing, okay, we would run on this car, or we would, of course, reduce the speed before. So then, when the left lane is free, go to the left lane, hits the turning indicator yourself. The car. Well, is the car he, she, or it? Let's leave it up for the discussion. It depends, right? Is this he, she, or it? E-Class? I think E-Class is more like, you always say it's, like proper business suit. I think E-Class is more a he, isn't he? Yeah?
Maybe.
Okay, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, whatever. So, yeah, that was very impressive here. So a good live demonstration of this new feature, and why not? It adds some more comfort. Before, it was that you had to tip the turning indicator to introduce that to yourself.
And you know, there are those jokes out there. Always depends, of course, on the car brands, but often there is this joke that BMW drivers, you know, don't hit the turn indicators. So you can say like, oh, is there also the BMW feature that does the lane change without setting the turning indicator? Yeah, I mean, I'm frequently driving a BMW myself, so probably I shouldn't do that joke. But you know, there are jokes typical about every car brand. Like, there's always the taxi E-Class joke, you know, like, hey, if I want to drive an E-Class, I'll order a taxi. Because especially in Germany, the E-Class has always been the taxi car. Not anymore. Mercedes wants to do luxury experience only, says, forget about taxi drivers, we don't sell them anymore. Toyota and Lexus should do the taxi business. So that's their decision right now. Also interesting, a lot of taxi drivers are furious about that, but they also told me that recent E-Class got less durable, you know, when you compare them to previous ones. We have to see how it is with this generation here. So what we could feel, see, drive, experience-wise, wow, really outstanding. Yes, there is the user interface here, which is not ideal while driving. I like to have more physical input there. Maybe a little bit over-engineered as for the software thing, and also having like always these like the Chinese customers in mind, especially. Yeah, that's the only downside of this vehicle to me. But everything you experience as a driver then, hardware-wise, from the pure facts, from the engineering, is just awesome. And you really have to wonder, does the S-Class really deliver you more in driving? I would actually easily take an E-Class, and I don't see much more benefit now in the S-Class in this generation. Besides, of course, you have more space in the rear.
One of the most desirable Audi models receives an upgrade. This is the Audi RS7 Performance. Some tweaks in design, under the hood, more power, and also some trim and rework, suspension setup, and so on. We'll tell you all about it with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the really impressive front, already a little bit wider, this RS7 than the standard A7. Here, LED and optional, the Matrix LED with laser light function, even available in the US, although the high beam range is a little bit restricted then. This beautiful color is called Nardo Grey, a very popular Audi color indeed, and it fits very well to the RS7. But we also have a Ascari Blue matte vehicle for you here today. Just as a contrast, that also looks pretty impressive, doesn't it? Audi rings in the front, either the classic styling, or you can also get blacked out ones if you want a more sinister look. Turning indicators in the front, already with the cascading effect, and wow, look at this segmented view. That looks amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, come closer to see the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo. Really a beast of an engine. Now at 630 horsepower, so 30 horsepower increase, and also at 850 Newton meters of torque. It's actually now a little bit quicker in the acceleration. Soon more to that. Already visually looks quite impressive, doesn't it? 8-speed automatic converter gearbox. Around 5 meters or 197 inches in length, actually a little bit longer than a standard A7 because of the spoiler overhang. It starts with 21-inch wheels. These are the optional 22-inch wheels. These are the normal brakes, but they're already bigger in dimension. Option, you can also get the carbon ceramic. Also have it once again here with the matte Ascari Blue vehicle for you. And that one also has the matte gray mirror caps, but you can also go for this black package and have black mirror caps, or in carbon fiber, that would also be possible. The side profile already really beautiful here with the A7, or in this case the RS7. They've worked on the center differential of the quattro all-wheel drive. It's a standard classic quattro all-wheel drive, 40-60 standard distribution. And in most markets, the rear axis steering is already standard. They also worked on the suspension setup. You have two choices: air suspension, which is already a little bit lower, and also the DRC. Then you have 3 fixed settings for the suspension. Overall a stiffer ride. It's up to you which one you go for. Can we take 5 seconds and just enjoy the 3/4 rear perspective of this car together? Beautiful, isn't it? I love this view. It's my favorite one of the A7 in general. And here once again with the RS7 you can see the wider wheel arches both front and the rear. It's also the same here of course for the performance model. This one is equipped with the optional sports exhaust. You can see when you have this black tip around, inside then a split, and here then the black contrast to the Nardo grey color. The light strip goes all the way through, pretty cool. I like it, by the way, definitely with the bright Audi rings and not with the dark ones. Acceleration figure now at 3.4 seconds. Before it was 3.6 seconds to 1 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour. So a little bit quicker indeed. And the top speed is 280 kilometers an hour or optional 305 kilometers an hour. That's 190 miles an hour with the optional dynamic package plus. Yeah, but even in Germany, hardly ever you will reach that speed.
And turning indicators, cascading style, looks pretty fancy, doesn't it?
RS badge on the key fob, pretty cool, isn't it? I like that key fob really. And this is here one of the rare cases where we have frameless doors, this coupe style, but at the same time a cool door closing sound. And this is something that hardly anyone achieves. However, you can also use here the optional soft close function. Then inside of the doors with the RS7 Performance, we have a lot of microfiber use here from the Dynamica company. In this case, here. That's actually pretty cool. And I like it also how the clicking sounds are here at the inside window door levers. This is still a classic approach and not too much #capacitive BS. Then the interior, we have here the red RS design package. There's, for example, also a blue one available. You can pick it according to your liking. And I like especially the steering wheel here with the microfiber. Seats in Germany, for example, we could also get microfiber on the inside of the sport seats here. In the US, only the animal skin is available, sadly. These seats give good support. However, you could also basically downgrade to the comfort seat, then you have a little bit more open space. That would also be possible. Then with 189 or 602, still a lot of headroom left. This one here, closed roof and all the way also with a nice microfiber. This interior cockpit overview to me shows how you can combine the new world with the classic good user interface here. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless or wired, touchscreen, lower part, touchscreen also for the AC. However, for a touch solution, relatively easy to control. And then manual volume jog right here. On the steering wheel also real buttons. So it is a mix and that's fine with me. On the dashboard, a beautiful microfiber use. I really like it. However, as an alternative, you can also get this carbon fiber like mesh, blue contrast with the blue design package. Steering wheel with the microfiber, really best grip. And here with this dent on each side. Actually better grip than for the hand in this position. And these shifting pedals, really high class. And not to forget the small head-up display. Instruments can be classic like this, or RS performance gauges, or the RS runway. And then you have drag style. And important that you can always configure your RS button. And here RS1, RS2, you pick your individual settings and they are then activated when you hit the hotkey. Here for RS1 then, or for RS2 maybe make that one the sportiest or something. The infotainment system has these really large tiles, so easy to control actually, and I always deactivate the haptic feedback so I can just click it like I do on the smartphone. And the other alternative would be that you really have to click and hammer it, but I like it in the easy normal way. Microfiber on the rear shifting lever, cup holders next to it, just too much black piano lacquer, I think. Then here the microfiber armrest. This is properly fixed when you put it front and back. With the Cayenne recently in the EU version we had a problem that it automatically goes forward. And then when we open it, more space, and now 2 USB-C chargers. Rear seating, yeah, we know there's not too much space considering the size of the vehicle. By the way, here, this is the way the window goes down in the rear maximum. Of course, we can put that high like that. And let me just take a seat. Behind the seat as I would be driving as a tall driver. It does fit with 4 tall adults, but that's about it actually. And also headroom, even though it doesn't look like it, I can also sit here in the rear. It works. What I love about the RS7 is that it has this fluent, beautiful form. At the same time, it is as versatile as an estate because you have this fastback opening really wide, very well accessible, 115 in meters or 45 inches in the length, and you can have 1/3, 2/3 fold, but you can also just fold the middle part here and you have a vast trunk area. And then there's this covering part of the trunk. You can release it here and then pull it. That way you could look through, or maybe when you want to transport something even bulkier. But overall I think it's a good idea to cover that one, that even when you close the whole fastback hatch, so you can see when this one goes down, it goes here and then covers everything. And this counterpart you could also take out completely, like here. Whoa! The So this was the evil part, because you can secure it like this, but then it's not like really properly closed. The key is to really push it in there and then turn it around. Now it's properly safe. Launch control. Woo! Yeah, that was like 0 to 50 miles an hour. Easily done, so easy. And yeah, she had fun as well. You heard it. Wow, that is really like a lift off, like spaceship or like airplane or something. And the car suddenly feels so light, although it is actually a large and heavy vehicle. Wow, really impressed by that. And here, especially there, you also feel this effect of putting even a little bit more performance out of this model here with that special performance pack. 0.2 seconds quicker in the acceleration figure to 62 miles an hour or 100 kilometers an hour. Woo! Really amazing indeed. And the handling here also in the Benz is just amazing with that steering. Great grip on the Alcantara steering wheel. Yeah, in that really stiff mode of the air suspension, you do feel some feedback from the road. Of course, you can go to the comfort mode at any time. First comment, air suspension versus the DRC. You can pick both. DRC is a fixed suspension that can be set to 3 different stiffness modes. It does not work like a DCC, that it rules between these modes and has a span, but there are 3 different presets. And you have an even stiffer, sportier feeling with the air suspension. Definitely would recommend you to go for that one, because the air suspension gives you more flexibility, and when you go to the comfort mode, it gives you the everyday cruiser and you have a lot of comfort, although you have this rocket right there, accessible at any time. And that was 50 miles per hour. Pretty quick. Really good from that all-wheel drive. You have standard 40-60% distribution, and when you really hammer it through, you can also get even more, up to 85% in the rear, up to 70% actually in the front when you have rear traction loss. And yeah, you've maybe seen the reaction of the passenger. Sorry for that, because there was another speed limit coming up, and then I really had to hit the brakes, and these are not the carbon ceramic brakes we have here, but of course they are bigger than normal ones you have on a normal passenger car, and they are really hammering all the way in. So, but you have a good feeling for that, and that's also what I actually prefer in a way if you compare it to the carbon ceramic brakes, because on the racetrack, of course, they are always better. But in normal driving life, I prefer the non-carbon ceramic brakes, because these ones here, they react a little bit quicker and they just give you, to me, a finer feeling. So both, of course, will be fine and both will deliver great braking performance, no doubt about that. Here in the S shifting mode, gears are turned up higher from the RPM. You shift down earlier. Dynamic driving mode, we have the air suspension here. That means it's going a little bit stiffer, but still not uncomfortable at all. But they have also worked on the suspension setups and make this span a little bit wider. So, for example, when we go to the comfort mode, everything relaxes a little bit more, and
the suspension is a little bit softer, so although this is an RS model, it can be an everyday cruiser. That's also the thing about Audi RS models. If you compare it, for example, to the 63 AMG models with Mercedes and the true BMW M models, the Audi RS models are always a little bit more comfortable than their BMW and Mercedes counterparts. And that's maybe something you seek, or maybe something you don't seek, but I feel these cars are all being driven every day, and it should be also a primary driver, especially in this configuration here. And I think then that is actually a good choice. I really like the steering input, that is awesome. So you see here, I don't have to do much work on the steering wheel, I still have enough of resistance. This is the classic stuff I really appreciate from the vehicle. A real good driver-focused interface from the steering, shifting pedals. I can also always use manually here, no problem. Wow, yeah, wonderful feedback from that engine. They've increased the torque and this 0.2 seconds quicker also in the acceleration. Do you feel that? Yeah, maybe a little bit. It's not a reason to buy this one here now if you already have an RS7. That's not the case. But still, it leaves a little bit more crispy, sporty focus here. So they've done a lot of setup work here, and definitely think it pays off. But to me, the best thing is still that it combines basically racing and sportiness. And this nice steering here, you can use it for both. You see, it is really precise. It always does what you want to do. And although this is a large and kind of heavy vehicle, it always invites you to do some more slalom driving. And yeah, that just feels beautiful. Very noticeable, by the way, how you note, how you hear, how you perceive the engine. So what they've done here is saving 8 kilograms, or around 16 pounds of weight, by giving away the insulation to the engine. That means you hear the engine more in this vehicle. In the comfort mode, it's relatively silent. But as soon as you go to the dynamic mode, for example, then for example also shift down. Wow, it almost feels the car would be lifting off the road like a spaceship. And even more so, of course, in the RS driving modes where you can put it even sportier. And you just hear so much more from that engine. So it is, yeah, you lose a little bit of noise insulation comfort, but you buy an RS model actually to achieve that. So to hear more from that engine. And that's also something they've done here with this new performance model iteration. Here the drag strip mode is also available in the RS driving mode, and wow, there's such an instant reaction when you hit the throttle. Great. And at the same time, when you go back to the comfort mode, you go from beast to everyday comfortable cruiser. That's the cool thing. So the overall handling and feeling of this car is superb. You feel that it is a very evolved vehicle. It is due to the end of its life cycle very soon, yes, but sometimes this is exactly a reason to go for the vehicle, to get it when it's really finally developed. One more acceleration in the RS mode. Whew, that was a little bit of preloading. Whew, that is defo liftoff. And here we go with the Audi A6, also at the 3-liter petrol engine with all-wheel drive. And let's put it to the dynamic mode. And it automatically goes to the S shifting mode. We'll also start at 40 kilometers an hour. Let's see how the acceleration goes here. Let's go. 100. 150. Plop, and that's 200 kilometers an hour. Now the road is dry, of course, but I could go with the acceleration with the BMW as well. The acceleration figure to 100 kilometers an hour or 62 miles an hour are exactly identical. Also same horsepower amount. Here also suspension in that adaptive mode goes stiffer at higher speeds. And we have 19-inch wheels instead of 18-inch wheels, also with winter tires. And yeah, that feels indeed a little bit sportier from suspension. not surprisingly, here we do have the adaptive air suspension that is built in this very test vehicle, and that also gives us a wide span between stiffer and not so stiff. Here like this, see here once again 90-degree steering wheel, and yeah, it's beautifully done indeed, such a good feeling. And the key thing is here, when you hear, does not only have a Yamaha in the back here, obviously also has NOS injection. Now from 100 kilometers an hour, and again another acceleration. Picking it up very well. Wow, 150, 170. Of course now the road is a little bit drier, so I can drive a little bit faster, 200. And wow, it gives me such a great controlled feeling over the vehicle. So I have to say, yes, bearing in mind, this is a wheel bigger here, but still it's 18 versus 19-inch winter tires in the comparison, so that's okay. Here, of course, then the air suspension, but the suspensions are still in the... No, I don't want any traffic announcement. Wow, that's super annoying, right? So, yeah, DAB announcement off. I hate that when... Yeah. Goodbye. So, back to the vehicle, sorry about that. So, I'm kind of astonished a little bit that the Audi gives me a more controlled feeling over the vehicle, and that's to me a surprise. Maybe I would have expected that from the, when I have an S6, but here at the usual A6, wow, that's really a thing, Sporty driving, tight corners, dynamic mode. Let's see. Now I feel that this air suspension, when it sets on the sports or dynamic trim, it's indeed rougher than with the BMW adaptive suspension. That's super interesting, and that also explains why it is sportier on the motorway, on the cost of comfort on these rough roads. That's interesting. Now here, look at the steering characteristic. Tight corner and all-wheel drive. Nice. Really very better to control, so much fun. Beautiful.
Premium mid-size sedan comparison, Mercedes C-Class against the Audi A4. Here with Thomas and Autogefühl for you. We begin with the Mercedes C-Class. In the design, you can see this is the sporty AMG line, has this micro-star pattern here, very beautifully done indeed. This new generation C-Class, also a sporty design in the lower part in the AMG line. LED is standard, option the so-called digital light. So this has individual segments then for more high beam functionality. This one here, a very sensual design with the Mercedes C-Class, and the Audi A4 here is generation-wise the older vehicle, but also experienced a facelift. Has more a German Bauhaus design, so more angular lines. This one also the S-Line, and also has this dark package that we have the dark frame around the grille, and also black Audi rings. That's an option, so you have a little bit more sinister look, but here with this tango red color, it's a very interesting styling, isn't it? LED also standard, and matrix LED is an option. Which one do you like best from design, from the exterior? Interesting also the side profile comparison, more or less same length, 4.75 meters or 187 inches for the C-Class, the A4 just a tiny bit shorter actually. And once again with the Mercedes, the more sensual design, here simple design indeed, but a little bit more round here. 19-inch wheels in this aerodynamic design, and very good in the comparison because we also have 19-inch wheels for the Audi here, for the A4. Here in the dual tone scheme, also very beautifully done in this black package, also with black side mirrors and black frames around the windows. And here then a more angular design also here, but both classic sedans. The question is, which design do you prefer better? I would really like to see a very vivid discussion about this. Rear comparison, where again we have this more sensual design with the C-Class, more round lines, especially here around the bumpers, and once again more angular Bauhaus design for the Audi A4. Straight lines here, goes all the way through with this black package. This also looks quite sinister then, yeah, pretty cool looking, and also a nice signature each with the LED strips. The C-Class now looks kind of like a small S-Class, doesn't it, especially from the rear. Well, and what they both can do very well is Autogefühl fake exhaust police with the fake exhaust alert. Yeah, Mercedes here, like a very, very clear case of fake exhaust. On the Audi side, well, it at least runs through, but also the outer tip is fully fake. Well, there is one big difference as for technology, and that is that the C-Class offers rear axle steering optional with a threshold of 60 kilometers or 37 miles per hour. Below that, the rear wheels turn in the opposite direction than the front wheels. That fakes a shorter wheelbase, reduces the turning circle massively by about a meter, and it gives a very, like short wheelbase feeling than at lower speeds. The Audi does not offer that, but will it make a significant difference in driving? We will find out very soon. Oh, and turning indicators comparison here with the hazard lights. Yeah, I think here the Audi leads it because it has this cascading function. And the same also counts for the front. Here, well, the Mercedes looks also quite cool indeed here with the signature. But once again, the Audi has a cascading function and it looks really impressive, especially here with this segmented parts. These are the two car key fobs, and the Mercedes one is a little bit heavier. Both look cool and both have a matte black, only here a little bit shiny black. So I like both indeed. Which one is your favorite? Let's begin with the Mercedes door closing sound. Yeah, quite solid, but it could be a little bit more low frequency. To me, a little bit too high in the frequency. And then inside of the doors, we have an Artico leather red here, or MB-Tex, high-grade leather red, really soft, nice structure, good build quality. Here also really stretched all the way around. However, also some negatives in the new generation because these buttons here, they do not move anymore. Before they did move and gave you feedback. Now they do control the seats, but they don't move at all. That's a step backwards. And also here, no real buttons. This vehicle is full of hashtag capacitive BS. Steering wheel here in the AMG line with a two-spoke design. It looks sporty, but once again here, the capacitive BS buttons here, they are harder to control while driving. But it looks cool. And also the steering input has massively changed in this new generation, soon more in the driving part. Seats, in this case also with the Artico or MB-Tex, they have a lot of choice there in the US and also in Germany, for example, in different colors, red, but also just plain black or brown or bright style. And they're also combinable with a cooling function. So US market, this Artico or MB-Tex, perforated style, only these slick surfaces. In Germany, you have a wide choice, either this Artico or then a Dynamica microfiber or also fabric seats in a mix with leather red. Only the UK market for the C-Class for Mercedes is animal skin leather only. It will be different for the Audi A4. Yeah, but soon talking more about that. Here the C-Class, and here headroom with 189 or 602. Enough left, although this is also the one with the panoramic roof. Turn on the ignition for that, and it does have this this shade first, but then you can also open the complete thing. To control it again, you have this slider, and this slider here, yeah, is also not that good to control to do that while driving. Interior cockpit comparison here, the Mercedes C-Class first, and you can see more this like this luxurious style, and once again fluent lines, a lot of ambient lighting, air vent, air vent, air vent, air vent, air vent. So there's more screaming out indeed. Vertical layout of that screen here. But when we now take a closer look here behind the design, these look pretty cool and also with the light, but then look at that. This is not really straight, you know. Maybe this one is, but this one not. This one also not. And here on the right side, here, that on the right side, that is straight. But when we take a look on the left one here again, this is not straight. And these details would make me mad when I pay so much money for a mid-size vehicle. I have the feeling that the build quality in detail has gone worse with Mercedes indeed. What's cool in this very spec is here you always usually have a lot of black piano lacquer like here. But this one then here with this carbon fiber style, that's actually quite decent. Then you slide this one open, then you have cup holders. However, these here do not hold bottles tight in a way that would really, protect them while driving, going left and right. So these are not tight enough cup holders. Inductive charging pad,
2 USB-C chargers. And then we have the split opening right here at the armrest. MBUX infotainment system. The temperature unit always stays in this lower left or in the right area, 2-zone AC, so you can more or less control it while driving, but a physical control like in the A4 I do prefer. Here the GPS is actually quite fast enough, and is a usable GPS, not like that you only use CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can use this and it's also fast enough indeed. This is the overlay main menu. And here, for example, vehicle settings. You can deactivate or activate the steering wheel assist, the active steering assist. Driving mode selector is here, comfort mode or sports mode. We're going to talk about that while we drive the vehicle. And then the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto integration, wired or wireless, both possible. Very good and clear display as well. And let's listen to the sound. The Burmester sound system, good option and has a great in-depth surround sound. I love that, so that is very well done. And voice input, either with activation word or here pressing it on the steering wheel. Heated steering wheel.
I'm sorry, this vehicle does not have steering wheel heating.
Well, so it is not equipped with it, but if it would have it, then we could activate it with the voice input. Digital instruments, clear to read, and you can have the map in the middle, but also switch it completely to have the map full screen like this, but also different stylings like here, the sports gadget. Ooh. And you can also get a head-up display. C-Class rear seating, let's take a look. Well, first of all, nice soft materials here inside of the doors at the rear as well. So design-wise, it's really cool. But once again, this is, like high gloss black and so on, so when you have some fingerprints on there or some scratches, that's maybe a thing. Rear bench looks also quite cool, but is it also cozy and do I have enough space? Mid-size segment, it's not too short, this vehicle, and you see here this seat is really bent, so as tall driver here, then you hardly have any space here left. You would need put it up there, a little bit higher, that the recess is working better. Headroom is also really close, so when I put my spine up, I do hit the ceiling with my head. That would be better in the estate version, the T model or T model, the estate version here. That is also available for the C-Class and the Avant for the Audi. It's not too uncomfortable, but also here not too much space for your arms. So especially when you're tall, really limited space here. And the huge middle tunnel, well, in the middle part, you can sit, so it works more or less for 5 tall adults, but yeah, definitely limited. Now to the interior of the Audi, door closing sound. Really nice and more low frequency, so to me the better door closing sound. Inside of the doors, this is here somewhat just soft touch, little harder. So this is a little bit worse than the Mercedes, but this brushed aluminum look is actually quite cool and it's soft here. And here we have real physical buttons and also with clicking sounds for the window control. This I do like better here with the Audi. Steering wheel, sporty S-line, and yes, real buttons and toggle jogs here at the steering wheel. This is lovely here for the instruments, on the right side for the sound, for example. And the seats then here with fabric inserts. These are available in Germany, for example, also with microfiber. And in the UK as well, either like this, fabric in the inside or microfiber Dynamica. So here Audi does have some animal skin alternatives in the UK, but the outsides are still animal skin. And in the US, however, then in this case, for the A4, just animal skin leather. So also a strange market policy. You really have to check your configurator. Seating comfort is excellent. The best seat ergonomics, especially for tall people in the segment, together with the Volvo S60 or V60, because everything we're telling you today both counts for the sedan and the estate versions. It's just that the trunk is basically different, a little bit more headroom in the rear. But in the front, yeah, it's really great and way more comfortable indeed than in the C-Class. From the seat ergonomics, well, and the fabric seating surface here is also really great, I think. Steering wheel has a comparable size, maybe a little bit larger here, but the main difference is really that here we have a more direct input, a more direct, more
analog user interface. Headroom, no problem at all. This one without a panoramic roof, but there is one available if you like. Yeah, the theme between these two cars is really analog versus digital, and the Audi is more analog. Steering wheel, and here also my favorite climate unit. I just love that. Clicking sounds. This is really beautiful and easier to control while driving. Since the facelift of the A4 a while ago, before the facelift, it had this turning knob also in the middle part to control the infotainment system. Now the infotainment system is bigger and the MMI knob is gone, but then you have a touchscreen. So it's a trade-off indeed. Beautiful matte aluminum. This is also cool, and the whole layout here is once again more German Bauhaus, more simplified, less design, like abundance, luxury. However, the build quality is also soft touch, and so like the build quality in the detail of the buttons and how everything is straight aligned and so on is better than in the C-Class. Also the cup holders, they hold everything tight very, very well. Good shifting lever. Like to prefer, like this real one than the one on the steering wheel. And here you have also manual volume drop, and underneath you can store some phones. Infotainment system, it's also kept fairly simple. It's not too fast, but fast enough. You can also use this one. And here you can have individual hotkeys basically. See, here it could be a little bit faster, but the menu structure is really simple and really easy. That's good about the system. And then you can, for example, like hold this one and then you can move it. I already did it here and move on the left side. Then you can, for example, have a quick access to the CarPlay. The car menu, we have both cars today with adaptive suspension. You can switch around the driving modes here, but also in the lower part you can also use the drive select. And then you have the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, like this, the integration. In the Mercedes it's a little bit bigger, it's wider, but here it's totally fine. And there is also an optional sound system available for this vehicle. I only have the base sound system for this vehicle here today, so it doesn't sound that good, actually not comparable, but the optional sound system is somewhat comparable. Maybe the optional sound system in the Mercedes is a little bit better, but here the optional sound system would also be quite cool. Digital instruments, well to read, and more classic setup of digital instruments. I feel they're way easier to control, especially also while driving. So I would prefer indeed these like this, but you can also have, for example, the map full screen, but only the car internal map. Neither the C-Class nor the Audi offers Apple CarPlay or Android Auto map on the left side. Only the BMW 3 Series does that. Inside of the rear of the A4, it looks cool, especially in here with the contrasting fabric. It's a really nice material, by the way. It's rugged but comfortable at the very same time. Nice aluminum inserts. However, the back part here is not entirely hard, but harder than in the Mercedes. Just here, once again, soft. Here you have a manual shade for the rear windows. It's actually a nice function also for the kids and so on. Let's get inside. And also not too much space here. You have this recess, but yeah, also the space is limited when a tall driver is there. So both not good in that respect at all. Headroom is a little bit better here in the A4, I feel. And let's see the shoulder space here. Yeah, and shoulder space also a little bit more, but knee room here, I feel maybe even a little bit less actually, because the C-Class now in this new generation has increased the wheelbase. That helped actually. So a little bit more legroom in the C-Class. Here also not too much space. And yeah, and also that middle console here is quite large. So you can also sit in the middle part. Yeah, I have this seat now a little bit too far in the back, but really hard here also on the middle seat. So for shorter trips, 5 tall adults do work, but also just limited. Both not sedans for tall people in the rear. Trunk area, 460 liters for the Audi, 455 for the C-Class. So comparable in the capacity and also in the length here. A good meter of 40 inches in length and also a meter of 40 inches in the width here back there. And in the front then it's even longer in between the wheel arches, rather 120 meters or 47 inches. The height, let's compare that one as well. Here about 50 centimeters or 19 inches. In the comparison, a good advantage for the C-Class is that here we can fold the seats from here and they directly fold flat. That's really cool, nice feature for the C-Class. Build quality wise, build quality wise here, that is a little bit doubtful. This hard plastic area right here, expect a little bit more from a premium sedan in this case. Both of course available as the Avant as well as the Estate. Then here also, this is a little bit more than a meter or 40 inches in length. And also here is more square dimensions, so you don't have this enlengthment right here at the wheel arches, but therefore it's it's more consistent in the whole width. Height is the same, 50 centimeters or like 19 or 20 inches. But the thing is here, I have to go around to fold the seats, but both definitely comparable as for the space you have available. Engine-wise, very interesting. Audi offers both 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder, petrol and diesel, and plug-in hybrid as well. Mercedes, only 4-cylinder, 2-liter 4-cylinder all the way, petrol and diesel. However, their plug-in hybrids offer significant range, 100 kilometers or 60 miles. This one here today, the pure petrol engine, C300 4MATIC with all-wheel drive. It is a rear-wheel driven platform basically, so the all-wheel drive always has a rear-wheel bias. That's very interesting. Whereas Audi is a little bit different. When you go front-wheel drive only, you can, or an all-wheel drive in the 2-liter 4-cylinder area, then it's a front-wheel biased all-wheel drive setup. If you go 3-liter like this one here, the 3-liter V6 diesel or petrol engine, then you have the classic permanent quattro all-wheel drive 40-60 distribution. This one here, the V6 diesel. So we also have a comparison, petrol versus diesel today.
Welcome to Thomas's comparison driving lounge here, starting with the Audi A4 sedan. Of course, driving parts will count for sedan and Estate. They don't drive really differently. We go to the sports mode, also here in the Audi Drive Select Dynamic. We start from 50 kilometers an hour. Ooh, that's lovely. 150. And that's 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Now the wind noises are picking up, but that's of course no wonder. Suspension really great in control. What a great high-speed handling, also from the steering. When I do some high-speed lane change, absolutely confident. Here adaptive suspension goes a little bit stiffer in the dynamic mode. S shifting mode means sportier shifting, higher RPM. And let's put it a little bit slower, and wind noises are actually cool around 140, 130 kilometers an hour, absolutely fine. So overall good noise insulation. Better just in a class above that. If you go like an Audi A6 or something, that would have better noise insulation. So looking forward how it is in the C-Class then from the insulation. But the great thing here about the Audi A4 is this handling feeling. You already feel at high speed and going straight. It will be even more significant when we soon come to our winding corners test. This vehicle handles so well and is so neutrally assigned. It's really awesome. Yeah, that guy behind me was thinking like, is this guy crazy? Yeah, just for testing purposes here, going in a tunnel. This very vehicle is not equipped with the ambient lighting package. Seriously, such a price, and then it doesn't have that as standard. But there is nice ambient lighting available for the A4 indeed. So with that acceleration, in this case here with a 3-liter engine, driving the 3-liter V6 diesel here today, it also has a rear-wheel bias with the quattro all-wheel drive. When you go for a 2-liter engine, it will have a front-wheel bias because the 2-liter quattro is a completely different quattro. It's front plus rear on demand. This one here, the classic 3-liter engine setup quattro, means permanent all-wheel drive with a rear-wheel bias 40-60% basic setup. So this is then the all-wheel drive to go for if you have the choice. Of course, 2-liter engines are cheaper, so it's a question of price. We could not get a correspondent petrol engine for comparison directly here today, but it's still nevertheless interesting because we have the petrol versus diesel comparison concept in here. And as I said, I can also elaborate more about the different quattro drives here in the Audi A4. And the thing is that with the diesel engines, they are not that vivid when you are at low RPM. They take some time, but then they really set in with all their torque. And this is also a true machine when you're on the motorway already at higher speeds. I'm soon going to show you that. And then hammered all the way through. They are also all that, great torque is setting in. That is also a very nice thing to experience then. So it has pros and cons, definitely. Not only cons, also that the consumption is about 7 liters on average on 1 kilometer, so it's like 34 mpg US and even 40 mpg UK for such a powerful 286 horsepower engine. Very decent fuel economy. Nowadays the diesel prices are really high, so that's not a real advantage then anymore in this case. So in Germany at this moment here, diesel prices even higher than normal petrol prices. Starting from 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, and look at that. What kind of torque they're still coming from that engine. That is incredible. And here also in that long bend, high speed corner, how well the car is handling. Dynamic chassis then, or adaptive dampers. And it's so super comfortable at the very same time. So you are in perfect control of the vehicle. And that is what I love about the A4. It has such a connected feeling to the driver. And a lot of that is indeed the steering, which is, you will soon see, it's super progressive. Yet at the same time, it doesn't feel artificial. So progressive, I mean by that, I don't have to steer a lot. Yet at the same time, we know that, for example, BMW 3 Series, which is also one of the main competitors, or the Alfa Giulia, has the steering like, especially on the motorway, when you do like this, it's like, you have like artificial feeling, and they try to make it feel more agile by just like, when you do this, you do like this. And here, you don't have to steer too much, yet at the same time, they found the right compromise between agility in steering and natural feeling. And to me, in this very segment here, and the main competitors are of course Audi A4, Mercedes C-Class and BMW 3 Series, the Audi A4 has the best steering feel, and it's actually most fun, yet at the same time it feels most natural. And steering feel to me is something really important, because it is the input for the driver. It's the connection to the vehicle, besides the pedals, of course. Yeah, and pedal feeling is also really good here. Another very important aspect, especially when you compare it here to the Mercedes C-Class, is the user interface while driving. And talked about it already in the interior part. Yeah, I love that. Clicking sound of the AC unit, my favorite AC unit in the automotive industry. So easy also to change the vent strength. Here also real knobs on the steering wheel to change the volume of the sound system, for example. And here also to change something in the digital instruments. Oh, by the way, here, driving mode selection, I go back to auto and also put here to the, then it also goes back into normal D shifting mode. We can also test assistant systems. Predictive cruise control, you have a separate column here to set it here below the steering wheel, really easy to do, and one click to activate or deactivate the active lane keeping assist. Now I have activated it, and then the car is also kept in the lane. And if I'm annoyed by that, it's just one click and it's gone, and I don't have to go like deep in the menu for many more steps. Here, let's see how it. Yeah, and this corner here, not that well done. So it's not the most modern assistant system, let's take it that way, on the disadvantage side. On the advantage side is, it's not intrusive, It's more meant for motorway and then keeping the lane there, and also here with this warning and so on. And to me, I do not need the most active lane keeping assist. I rather prefer one that is not that intrusive, and most of the time the lane keeping assist, I do tend to deactivate them. I'm really happy with adaptive cruise control and also with blind spot monitor, which is integrated very nicely here in the side mirrors with a flash warning and also acoustic warning when you then actually hit the turning indicator. So to me, assistance systems here also really fine with that vehicle. And I love the rear wheel bias of the all-wheel drive in here. You will not have that with the front wheel drive version or with a 2-liter quattro all-wheel drive. Is it the worst then? No, not really. It's still a lot of driving fun. And it's just that, you know, like when you accelerate out of the corners, then you do have more fun with a 3-liter quattro all-wheel drive. And of course also with the Mercedes C-Class, even in the low entry engine versions, because the C-Class is the rear-wheel driven platform. This one here is actually, yeah, in most cases a front-wheel driven platform, besides, and as I said, the 3-liter quattro all-wheel drives. Yeah, so to me the big advantage of the A4 is natural user interface while driving, and also natural feeling of everything you do, you know, from the steering and what you feel from the suspension. You can, or you do feel one with this vehicle here, and you appreciate it also over an A6 in a way of it feels more agile, feels sportier, you have less space around you, you find easier parking spots. A6, of course, you know, more silent and more comfortable on very long motorway trips and so on. Oh, there's an A45. But this one here is to me like basically the perfect segment in a way. You know, it can do everything. It's not too big, it's not too small. It offers you great comfort without being too big. It still offers you very sporty agility, a lot of driving fun. This is what I really love about this mid-size segment here. And one more time to the dynamic mode. Also switches then to the S-shifting mode here in the agile corner driving. And here is where that dynamic steering really plays out very well. And look at that now here. Look at how the steering angle is and how the turns are. And they're not much farther, you know, they are comparable in the angles. And I can keep my hands at the steering wheel all the time. Stiffer feedback from the suspension at the same time. It's not getting rough. 180 corner, really nice control here. Torque steer with the steering now. A lot of fun. Now I also rear wheel bias out of the corners. Such a great handling. I love that. It's so much fun. It feels so natural. This is perfect. This is perfect indeed. If you also compare the BMW 3 Series, which is not here on our present comparison, we've just done the facelift driving of the BMW 3 Series, so it wasn't available for this test here yet. And the thing is that the driving here in the seats is better with the A4, so it's more comfortable for taller people. That's a comfort thing. And also way more natural steering feeling. So the 3 Series has, to me, the worst steering feel in this 3 comparison then, with the C-Class, A4, 3 Series. It should be the other way around. Hey, come on, it's BMW, right? But I think they messed up the 3 Series steering feeling. So this is indeed the best with the A4. All 3 are, of course, very good in handling and are a lot of fun. But these are the fine nuances and the differences. And it's always the question like, what is your personal preference? What is the most important for you in the driving feeling? And then we can tell you, hey, this nuance is better with this vehicle and this little thing is better with that one. Then you can say, hey, you know, that's important to me. And this definitely here is to me the perfect balance, the perfect mix of agile driving and comfort together with the natural input, driver and vehicle, and also the user interface. That's the special thing with the A4. What is special with the C-Class in driving? Let's find out. And now to the Mercedes C-Class C300 4MATIC here, so also an all-wheel drive model. We'll put it to Sports Plus mode, so the sportiest mode available then. This all-wheel drive also then with the rear wheel bias, because the C-Class is a rear wheel driven platform in any case actually. So we start from 50 kilometers an hour and also accelerate it out as soon as the other cars are gone, just for safety. And here we go, and now let's go. 160, 170, and that truck is going 150? What? Interesting. And now accelerate further out. Let's see here, lane changing at higher speeds also feels quite nice. Adaptive suspension also is stiffer than now in that adaptive or dynamic setting. Wind noise here at 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Also, yeah, you can hear that definitely. Once again, I don't have too much feeling for the car, considering the A4. Still a good feeling for the vehicle overall. Now noise insulation at 140 or 130 here. And now reducing. Yeah, from the insulation factor, from the silence in the vehicle, here also at higher speeds, the C-Class seems to be better. So this is a point for the C-Class, definitely. Good noise insulation, very nice silent ride. Interesting that this guy behind me has lights on. It's unusual in Germany. It's not really, usually have daytime running lights on, but not the full ones. Of course, different in the Nordic countries. Then here we can go back to the comfort mode. You can also switch it through with this lower button here. Otherwise, you put it here on the screen. And we go into the tunnel. And there we can see that ambient lighting-wise, the C-Class is also ahead. Because it looks really beautiful, especially in this area and here around and here and inside the air vents. And then when you change the temperature, the ambient lighting changes to red, and you change it cold and it went to blue. This is lovely. So great ambient lighting here. This is where Mercedes really scores. I love the Mercedes ambient lighting. Some say it's too much, but I really adore it. What about you? Is it too much for you with the ambient lighting, or do you like it here the way it is? I think it's absolutely awesome. So great premium feature. But I told you earlier that some of the things are not that premium here, and you feel that while driving, like this is like some of the details are not straight, and I wouldn't expect such a bad build quality in the vehicle. And when you hit the turning indicator, by the way, blind spot monitor with a red triangle and then also acoustic warning, but like the turning indicator feeling is way better in the A4. So like just when you hit the turning indicator and feel how it resonates from the feedback it gives and the sound, there you feel, hey, this is a premium vehicle in the A4, but this is not a premium turning indicator here in the C-Class. And yeah, you also feel it while driving. And see it also, and here, how they create that behind the steering wheel with a lot of gaps here. And then you look at the air vent again, which is not really straight here in this case. And also here, I'm not sure if you see it also here in this camera, then you see in some of the details, is that really still premium from the build quality? So that's some disappointing things here about the C-Class, and you do feel that thing while driving. Another big factor is definitely the seating comfort, and for tall drivers, the seat ergonomics in the Audi are definitely better. It's also decent comfort here, and also the the soft touch Artico leatherette. That's also nice, and you also have a cooling function for that. That's cool. But seat ergonomics, especially if you're taller, is definitely better in the Audi. With the BMW 3 Series, here C-Class and 3 Series are comparable. I think the Audi really leads these two in the seating comfort, again, especially if you are a little bit taller. As for the suspension, it's having a softer layout in the A4. However, we have the sportier setup also in the A4 from that suspension layout. And I do prefer that a little bit. Here they have set it more on comfort, that you feel sometimes that the chassis is, like a little bit flying independently from the wheels. That's what you feel. So there the question is, do you prefer closer contact with the road? Driver, car, road. Everything is unified. That's what in the Audi. And here you're a little bit more separated, let's take it that way. It feels then a little bit softer. What was that? Well, that's like this, which car had that recently? You know, like, okay, yeah, like the like a BMW. They also have that when the traffic light jumps to green, that you're reminded that it has jumped to green. Maybe it has jumped to green, so maybe that was it. Yeah, back to the driving characteristics. I also put in the cruise control here right now. The lane keeping assist, the active lane keeping assist, is more accurate and also way more active. So you can see here is very, very well kept into the lane. The lane keeping assist in the Audi is a rather, let's say, outdated one, but as I said, it must not be something bad. Here it's definitely the more intrusive one, but it's actually quite cool. You know, it works very, very well indeed. And you cannot keep the cruise control on and deactivate the active steering assist with a button here so on. But for example, when you go to the menu and here at Assisted Systems, then you click it here, active steering assist. By that you can deactivate it. So, or here active lane changing assist, that can also be activated, deactivated, but you have to do it in the menu, which is not that easy to do actually. So user interface wise, also here with the capacitive or like screen control of the temperature, more complicated. We had 100 kilometers an hour with the Audi, and then we accelerated it out right here. Let's do it at the same time. Once again, Sport Plus mode. It's like this shifting down, kick down first before the power comes. Yeah, well, that's interesting. When you let off the throttle, what is that? Unlimited speed here and driving 100 kilometers, 60 miles an hour. Strange. Okay, thank you. So, here we go. So, thing is, when you are applying a lot of throttle and then lift the throttle, the car gets a little bit of instability, just on the, talking about a high level. It's still very good to control, no matter what. But the Audi has the more unified feeling with the driver. It is better to control, it is perfect in the handling. And the C-Class, just in comparison to the A4, not in general, feels then a little bit harder to control and not laid out for such a high speeds than in this case. However, the adaptive suspension does a good job. But I feel also, from the feedback I get from the road, the Audi indeed suspension-wise masters it better to have comfort and sportiness at the same time, even in the dynamic mode. Whereas the Mercedes rather shines when you leave it on the comfort setting and concentrate on the comfort that the suspension is giving you. When this is often the case with the Mercedes models, especially when you then talk about the AMG models, when they set it on the sporty note, they can just do sports and not necessarily comfort. So I feel that the Audi has the more balanced setting in this case. Oh, that was red. If the police is watching this, we just recorded a fine. Yeah, very interesting, these small nuances. And some things you can really only feel when you drive these cars directly after each other. And one very interesting thing is the brake pedal feeling. And in the Audi, it also feels really natural and you directly have some kind of feedback. Here in the C-Class, especially like this first area, it is very, very, very soft. And you don't have real feeling for the brake. And that also applies to some of the rest of the features. The Audi has the direct interface, classic climate knobs, great pedal feel, direct steering feel. You feel connected with the suspension. And the C-Class is more, like now in comparison, direct comparison. A4 is more like you are the driver, you drive the vehicle. In C-Class is more you are being driven by the vehicle. Again, that's the direct comparison. In general, the C-Class is still, definitely still a lot of fun to drive here. Feels agile and sporty, especially, by the way, at lower speeds, because there the C-Class has a technology advantage if you equip that with the rear axle steering. When you're driving faster, it steers in the parallel direction, just like the front wheels, and it gives you more stability actually. But at lower speeds, you can, here's already too fast. At lower speeds, you can feel that the rear axle is steering in the opposite direction than the front wheels. It feels a little bit artificial, as always with rear axle steerings, but it gives you very good agility, reduces the turning circle by a meter, so it fakes a shorter wheelbase, so to speak. So when you're parking in and out, that helps a lot. Narrow parking lots, maybe basement garage or something. That is a very, very helpful feature indeed. Maybe it is overkill for a mid-sized vehicle, I don't know. It's of course also a cost-intensive thing. Yeah, but it is cool to have this technology available, and maybe more relevant for bigger vehicles with longer wheelbase in general, but definitely cool. We will also feel that when we accelerate out here from this traffic light, and then we drive a little bit slower, then we can also feel more of that. Fuel economy wise, by the way, really bad here with the C-Class C300 4MATIC, so at least minimum 9 liters in 1 kilometers, if not worse, maybe 10. So that's definitely always less than 30 mpg US and barely 30 mpg UK. So that's a really bad result for the fuel economy here for the C-Class. I mean, this is just a 2-liter petrol engine, 4-cylinder, so shouldn't be so bad. And the C300, thank you, is also one of the most popular engines definitely worldwide. You know, when I'm slow now and then like this, wow, it's incredible how that feels. It feels very artificial, but I'm not sure if you can really see that on camera, but when I do that at lower speeds, like 30 kilometers an hour or something, it really feels like the rear axle is coming around, like almost in a drift. That's the way it feels when that rear axle steering is active. So, wow, really astonishing technology feature, and the biggest advantage again for the turning circle, and also when parking in and out, because hardly anyone will do like slow speed slaloms with this vehicle. Why would you do that in public traffic, you know? But it definitely feels very, very special. Steering input, by the way, in general, that one has improved if you compare to the previous generation. So let's compare the previous generation C-Class to this one here now. User interface and build quality, I feel worse than in the previous generation. Steering feel, definitely better. You don't have to steer too much, so it has become more progressive. I like that. Mercedes usually has had a philosophy of steering quite a lot, steering angle-wise. It felt natural, but you had to steer a lot. Now in this new C-Class generation, you don't have to steer that much. I like that, so it has a great steering feel indeed. Also better than in the BMW 3 Series. Just the A4 steering is, to me, top of the game then in this case. And yeah, in the close battle, A4, C-Class, 3 Series. So seating comfort-wise, A4 leads it. Natural input of, for example, climate unit and steering, the A4 also leads it. The 3 Series, the worst steering feel in the segment, I feel. Suspension-wise, I like the Audi and the BMW. BMW with a great suspension as well. C-Class, to me, the worst suspension than in this 3 comparison then. However, that is really on a high level. This is a great suspension, no doubt about that. But yeah, sporty, I think it's a little bit too uncomfortable. And in the comfort mode, it swims up a little bit too much, I would say. And there, BMW and Audi master it better. Rear axle steering, that's where the C-Class leads it technology-wise. The other two do not have that, do not offer that. So there, that the C-Class is the newest ones of all of these 3 models, definitely plays a big role and has also some advantages. But you can't get over the fact that some of the elements here, also while driving, kinda do feel cheaper than in the previous generation. Now, how agile is the C-Class? in winding corners. And now, agile driving, let's once again put the Sport Plus mode. Gears are turned up higher, then also suspension is stiffer. Yeah, rear axis steering really plays a role then here. Feels really fun. Indeed, very stiff then from the suspension. From these small bumps then, however, the waves are being like indeed waved out, accelerating out. The all-wheel drive has a rear wheel bias as well. Engine takes a while also till the power is unfolded. Steering feel is good and natural, but you don't get, I mean, it's fun to drive, definitely, but you don't get this real fun kick you have with the A4, and also how you feel the G-forces are being applied. In the A4, you feel you're like really flowing together with the vehicle. And if you are really sensitive to G-forces here, you tend to feel, a little bit unpleasant how the car is moving. So in the A4, although you drive a little bit sportier, you feel more connected to the vehicle, and therefore you feel like less G-forces are being applied. Although of course you cannot change the physical G-force, yourself in a way, but it just, as I said, feels that you more flow together with the vehicle. It's not the case here in the C-Class in comparison. So overall, the biggest difference indeed in driving is that the A4 still feels for real, more analog in a way, and the C-Class feels more digital and a little bit more artificial. That is to me the big difference in the driving feeling, and it is indeed comprising so many factors I've all explained to you. Very, very interesting, and the 3 Series, I would say, sits in between that. Yeah, but then what do we make all of this? So which one would I take home right now? Today there is a clear winner to me. Well, let's start first with the individual things. Exterior-wise, I think it's always really a matter of preference, isn't it? I think both look great, definitely. The Mercedes a little bit more round, sensual, a little bit more playful. The Audi more straight, a little stronger in design, more edges and more German Bauhaus, as I call it, like this, named after this architecture style. Me personally, I'm more fan of this angular design of the Audi. What about you? Interior-wise, well, kind of a similar thing. The Mercedes with a lot of different things and fancy, shiny ambient light. I like the ambient lighting, definitely, but the Audi to me has more elegance, is more straightforward, and to me even more important, has a more analog user interface, straightforward climate unit, a volume control and so on, whereas the Mercedes, everything is digitalized, and also with the capacitive buttons and so on, it's just harder to control, more complicated, especially while driving. The Mercedes has a little bit more legroom in the rear. That's actually quite helpful because of this increased wheelbase in the new generation. Trunk space more or less similar. Well, and then for driving, the Mercedes has the technology advantage for the rear axis steering, but only of course if you went for that option, and it is rear-wheel driven platform always, even if you go for a lower entry engine. The Audi just with the rear wheel bias if you have an all-wheel drive version with one of the 3-liter engines. But driving wise, the Audi gives me a better compromise of sportiness and comfort at the same time. To me, I feel better comfort wise. As for the seats, especially as a tall person, and also the suspension gives me both more comfort and sportiness at the same time. With the Audi, I feel more one in driving. The Mercedes is definitely very good in driving, also great suspension, but just in a direct comparison. It is actually quite cool that they offer more alternatives to animal skin. That is actually quite cool in different Artico or Ambitex colors. But overall, actually, the Audi to me is the clear winner because of this unity while driving, more driving fun, more comfort, better seating, and also more elegance and straightforwardness in the interior. This is here, I know everything about this car. Immediately, I can control everything as I like to, and I need to learn more about this car. And also in this generation, I feel that the interior build quality
Here more shiny, fancy stuff, but when you really take a look in detail at some things, you know, sometimes a little bit disappointing, and then the Audi is more straightforward and also has more premium quality, especially in the interior. That's my verdict for you today. What about yours? Tell me in the comments, let's discuss. This review here could not be more significant. This is here the all-new Audi A5, and it replaces two very important models at Audi, the A4 and the A5 at the very same time. What about this? Soon to come. Then also, since this is here a volume model, this will be sold easily 10 times more than all of the other pure electric models coming up with Audi. So volume-wise, for most customers and for Audi itself, so important. And the third reason to watch this review, since I do own an A5 myself in the previous generation, the question is, can Audi convince me to get a new one? Well, all of these questions here we'll solve today for you with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the very front. This is here also an Audi S5, so the sporty model with the 6-cylinder driving up today as well. And here the front grille has become wider, so they try to do a sportier stance. And in the S model, you also have the special accentuations here in this L form. This also blacked out because this one is carrying a black package. You can always see it also here at the side mirror caps, for example. They would be in the typical aluminum style otherwise than that. The LED here has a 3-step logic. LED, more extended LED, and this is here the matrix LED. You also see it has like this pulsing function here, a little bit shimmering effect on the front already to give a little bit more of this light design brand, what they want to be or call themselves. And also when you use the turning indicators, you have a very spectacular effect already here in the front. Ascari blue is the vehicle color here for today. With the S5, it's available for the S model or also for the S line. And yeah, I try to dress accordingly to it, of course, once again. Then as for the length, this is here now 4.83 meters or 190 inches. And it has gained in wheelbase about 8 centimeters, so a little bit more than 3 inches. And actually, like, the gain in wheelbase is even a little bit longer than the gain in length itself. That is very significant. And indeed, it replaces both A4 and A5. So what are they doing? What have they thought of? They are actually reorganizing their whole branding stuff, and also with the names of the electric vehicles and also the combustion engines. So all the odd numbers are combustion engines and all the even numbers are the all-electric models then in the future. Doesn't mean that the combustion engines are out. No, not at all. That's just how you call the numbers. And you see here, this is here an A5 sedan, so to speak. And it is also an A5 Sportback because the rear opening is like a Sportback. So they made basically an A4 successor on the exterior with a fastback or liftback trunk of an A5 Sportback. That's interesting. At the same time, this is also available as the Avant, as the estate. It's called A5 Avant, and we definitely have to get used to that naming. It's also available as the S5 Avant. So there's an S5 Avant and also an S5 sedan, then both available. And you can also understand this because they are giving more economies of scale to themselves, basically. If they reduce the model portfolio a little bit, then also stretch it a little bit to gain maybe customers also from larger cars, being a little bit more upmarket, but we can check out if that works here today. You've maybe recently seen my personal vehicle episode. I have an A5 convertible actually from the previous generation, and I had great experience with it, but at the same time also horrible experience, especially with the dealers and warranty and so on and so on. If you want to check that out, if you haven't done so far, I will also link the video at the end of the video, for example, after we have driven here the all-new generation. Here with the black package, also here the frames all in black, otherwise it would also be a brighter styling. And what you can also see here already is that the door handles here are kind of integrated. You can grab underneath and then you don't really have a physical feedback for that, so it's capacitive. Yeah, you can grab in, but then you don't. It's something in between, let's take it that way. So many new solutions coming up there as for this.
wheels would, for the normal A5, 17 to 20 inch. This is here a 20 inch wheel. 19 would be standard for the S model, and 20 inch is also optional, but really cool in the RS styling here with the spider design. I really liked it. And typical also the red contrasting brake calipers here for the S model. Very important topic is of course the quattro all-wheel drive, and a lot of things have changed there. Also, if I think about my personal S5, which has the permanent quattro all-wheel drive, standard 40% in the front, 6% in the rear, then it can vary a little bit, and also with the torque converter. This has actually all changed, and I think it's very important to talk about this even before we actually take a look at the engine, because now all the A5 models and also the S5 do work with the Quattro Ultra. And now most probably will say like, wait a minute, that's front wheel drive, I don't want to have that. Yeah, that's how I also reacted at first. So then I thought, this cannot be ever a replacement for a previous generation, you know. So what are they actually doing, special to the S model? Is that the right approach to take? Okay, but now we have to take a deeper look into this Quattro Ultra concept. So yes, this is a front wheel based platform, and the base models will have front wheel drive. That's the case, and all wheel drive models will have the Quattro Ultra concept, which works front plus rear wheels on demand. That's fact. So with all the models, when you drive, let's say slowly, steadily, just roll, it will be a front wheel driven car. And then when you accelerate harder, also power will be sent to the rear wheels. However, they use a very, very strong clutch there in the middle. And by that, they can shift the momentum not only to 50-50 distribution front rear, but even more to the rear, up to 30% front, 70% rear. And by that, when accelerating hard, it can still become rear wheel biased. And there are actually two reasons for that. First of all, because the clutch is stronger than with other concepts, you know, of a similar kind. And the second reason is because when you accelerate, more weight is going to the rear axle just by physics, and that also enables that you can send more power to the rear because you get more traction at the rear by physics. Very interesting, definitely. And now there comes something special here for the S model, because the main difference here, Quattro Ultra from the base model to the S model, is actually that this one here always has a connection to the rear axle. So whereas the base model with Quattro Ultra is really just rear wheel also on demand, this one here always engages the rear axle, even just maybe a little bit, but it's always engaged. So you have a little bit more rear action at any time. So this is the first difference. It's of course a little bit less efficient then. And the second difference is that here at the rear axle, there is also a torque vectoring that has been reworked. And by that, there can be also sent more power to the curved outer wheel at the rear axle, making it even sportier. And what I explained to you now, it was quite long, but I think it was very significant, because that all-wheel drive is something what Audi is actually famous for the Quattro. And I'm really looking forward to, is it the same than with the standard Quattro all-wheel drive in the driving feel? Do I still feel that rear wheel bias? Audi promises that, you know, they took a look at the momentum in the testing and so on, and they say that when I accelerate out and drive it, it should feel more or less the same, but or even better. But I don't believe that yet. I have to see it for myself in the driving part very soon. But now let's take a look at the engines and of course at the interior. As for the engines, like with the normal A5, 2-liter 4-cylinder, petrol and diesel, it's interesting there because you've maybe also recently seen the Audi Q5 episode. There, all the engines are mild hybrid. Here, they went for a non-mild hybrid approach, like a normal turbo petrol engine, for the entry-level engine to keep the price a little bit lower. If you can say so for Audi relations. We're soon also going to talk about the prices. So the 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine is without mild hybrid. Then the 2-liter TDI is with mild hybrid. We have also some spec inserts, and also in the video description or in a separate comment we also have these facts and details in detail. There will also be a plug-in hybrid version available with a 22 kWh net battery, a similar system like we see in the Porsche Cayenne or in the Porsche Panamera, because this is here a longitudinal platform, so the engines are all put in longitudinal and not, you know, transverse like with the MQB platform, for example. And this is then so far the pinnacle. This is then the S5 model, 3-liter V6, 367 horsepower and 4.5 seconds in the acceleration figure. Yeah, and this also gets the mild hybrid system now, and that means it can do significant recuperation for a mild hybrid system, up to 25 kilowatt. This is actually really strong for a mild hybrid system, so you can have efficiency gains by that. At the same time, it also assists the combustion engine when accelerating, and there can be also some pure electric moments. For example, you're rolling towards a traffic light and so on, and then the engine shuts off and you're just rolling with the help of the mild hybrid system. Or when you traffic light jumps to green and there's a lot of traffic and you just steadily keep rolling or something, or in a traffic jam and so on. When parking in and out, there can be some situations like these. Definitely very interesting. But already right now, I would like to hear, by the way, a very nice acoustic cover here. So from the inside of the hood, this looks like very good quality. So you know that we also here pay a lot of attention to all of these details. Suspension is also a very important topic, because you have a base suspension, then you have a fixed sport suspension, minus 20 millimeters lower for S-Line and the true S model. Wait a minute. So I'm telling you all the time this is true S model, but you might say like, yeah, and how and where do we see that? Not in the front. At least no badge, because there is no S badge in the front. And that is something I also really strongly criticize, and most of you guys have also joined me in this criticism. If I buy an Audi S model, I want an S badge in the front there, period. Anyone agree or disagree? Feel free to join me in the comments there. However, this is the S model, and we can see that actually even more at the rear. So the sport suspension, the fixed one, is standard for this model, and optional. You can also get an adaptive S suspension, so it's a sport here touch for the suspension, but also adaptive. It's both available for the normal A5 and the S5, and this is an active adaptive suspension, so you can rule also with the driving setting in the front, sportier or less sporty and so on. And here, yeah, there's the small green bug on the opposite side, but there it is, S5. So this is like the visual proof. If it would be an S line, it would be actually like this, but then you still have the same symbol here, you know, so then symbol A5, yeah, because this is basically now the symbol for the S line and for the true S model at the same time. And I think that's, you know, screwing off the customers a little bit of the true S models. Maybe you've already seen here these OLED in the rear. They also have this sparkling, being alive function. And if you always ask yourself, OLED stands for organic LED, and you think like, wait a minute, do we have another ethical problem like with animal skin seats or something like? No, it's not at all. Organic, because in a chemistry sense, when you have carbon elements inside there, you call it organic chemistry. That's where it comes from. So it's nothing that's alive just because carbon is an element that is called organic in chemistry. That's why they're called OLED, organic LEDs. So yeah, still, oh, good boy. And interesting also, they have more communication functions basically. Once again, cascading turning indicators and so on, but maybe if it already appeared at some point. There it is. This is like the proximity light. So when I'm too close to the vehicle, like imagine if I'm another car, then the car says like, bugger off, you know, you're too close. Yeah, interesting. Or what some of you already suggested recently is like, wait a minute, what happens if people intentionally use it and drive closer to the vehicle because they want to see that function being activated? This can also happen, of course. Yeah, I don't know about that. Also interesting that when you hit the turning indicators, that you then see like this small warning triangle, and it can even use cloud data to activate this symbol then for other vehicles when it is actually known that there's a hazard on the road and so on. Very important. Today I'm wearing our 4K t-shirt, but we also have the fake exhaust t-shirt, so visit our shop to get your fake exhaust t-shirts here today from the Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police, because this is a huge success for the Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police, also of course due to your support. You know, we've been talking about this issue with the fake exhaust tips for a decade basically, and Audi has listened to that and say, we're gonna get rid of that. Audi were the brand that were
extremely into the fake exhaust business. They even had like fake exhausts which were like a totally fake exhaust. There was like a black plastic plate behind it, and then in the facelift version they actually put the plastic in this way that it appears deeper and has more shadow on the inside, so you could not see the fake exhaust that much. That was just too much, and then the design decision was taken. They saw, the Autogefühl fake exhaust police is buggering us too much. Now the decision is no more fake exhaust at all with new models. Either it's a sport model here and has visible exhaust tips, or in some other models then, or engine versions, you don't see anything at all. But this is then the real deal here for the S5 model. And they're really beautiful and indeed real. And also then here with another diffuser and so on. Yeah, you already realize there's so much to talk about this vehicle. It's really interesting. And I found something even more interesting for you actually, because before we start this review today, I asked ChatGPT actually to design or doing like a setup for a perfect mid-size sedan. And the interesting thing is it came up with a very, very realistic list. And I can already tell you so far, most of the points this vehicle here is checking. But there are 2 points that this vehicle does not check. And interestingly, they are exactly these 2 points that I also criticize with the vehicle. And I'm soon going to present that to you, because these are 2 main aspects also in the interior. And now a trick question for you. This vehicle here in gray, is it also an S5 or is it an A5 with S-Line? Yeah, it's an A5 with S-Line. And could you have told that before? Yeah, I mean, it is a little difference because we have these, like these here, these elements, they don't have the additional inlets. But that's about it, more or less, So I think that is a problem. An S5 needs, I think, more differentiation. And to see a visual proof, then here, same symbol, then an S-Line, A5. So just replace the S. And here also, although this then here a 2-liter 4-cylinder, a real exhaust tip as well. It just goes a little bit wider then. Yes, it's maybe wider than it's needed, like for the real, exhaust reason, but it actually dissolves into that, so there's no fake exhaust at all. So that's, good job. And maybe our colleagues from the Autogefühl fake exhaust police are out of business now. Maybe at Audi, but there are so many other brands using fake exhaust, so they will still be with us. Key fob here. Looks quite nice. S-badge then, also light matte black. Then again these handles were with the capacitive function, just door closing sound. Yeah, quite solid, but you've maybe already seen that. Yes, there are no frameless doors. So in that respect, indeed more an A4 successor than an A5 Sportback successor, but again with the trunk more A5 Sportback, so to speak. Then inside of the doors we have then here with some microfiber. On the top part it's, let's say, somewhat soft touch, also here with some contrast stitching. You also have the optional Bang & Olufsen sound system here, which is interesting, soon more to that. Then this one here with this like 3-dimensional imprint, you can really feel that. We have seen recently introduced in the Bentley Continental in the new generation. Audi A5 also gets it. And here this new unit here with the light control, for example, open close. This is also where you control the side mirrors. You see is one button field here, and then the capacitive function, #capacitive BS, control what you are actually doing. At least we still have the real window dials here, and they also have a very nice clicking sound still. That's actually quite cool. There is a design flaw with this one here, however, another design flaw, but I'm soon going to show you how that actually plays out from the interior. Then S entry badge here from the S model. And we also have the sporty steering wheel here with the badge and with the perforations at the side. At the moment, you see how everything is off. And this is the not backlit, the screens are off and so on. You can see this is like one curved unit, but with 2 individual screens. And it will be interesting to see how it looks like when I turn on the ignition very soon. Inside of the front doors, there's like this rubber ground, but the rest of everything here is all hard pack plastic, no felt covering or something. So the second design flaw of this unit there in the door is, so when the door is really widely open, you need to have very long arms to reach it, and then it can happen actually that you touch something on the touch field while reaching for the grab handle here on the inside. So that could be one drawback.
Then seats and comfort. This is here the Sport Seat Plus, which would be like top of the line, integrated head restraint. It also has here integrated speakers of the Bang & Olufsen sound system, if you have that special sound system. There's also a normal sport seat available and a base seat. And the base seat also available with fabric on the European market. We have to see about the US specs later. And this normal sport seat would also be available with dynamic microfiber on the inside. But you see that the scheme is still a heavy focus on animal skin leather, and they do not offer high-grade leatherette alternatives on a wide scale. And that's definitely something you should offer in a 2025 model, especially for everyone who is caring more about animals. However, Isofix here on the seat in the front already. We also have Isofix in the rear, of course, and we can also extend this lower area here. And then the question is about the ergonomics of the seat, and the base ergonomics so far make a quite good impression. We have to see how it turns out while driving and so on. And with 189 here, 6'2", still some headroom left. There's also a version with panoramic roof available, and it is a sporty seating position, and they try to give you always some kind of A6 vibes with the increased wheelbase and so on. They want to be more upmarket, and yeah, we see some details where that maybe works, but other details where it maybe doesn't work. You know what I mean? There's a large middle console. There's here this armrest with a lot of space underneath actually, so that's pretty cool. And you can also adjust this one here. Let's see. There, also in steps. So when you pull this one, then you can actually put it in certain steps. Then a lot of high gloss black, and you know when you don't properly clean it or some swirl marks, that easily catches like the things. Then cup holders, adaptive. You can also put the key fob in here. It's interesting. Real physical dial here for the volume. Then you have an inductive charging pad in the front. It is also cooled, has these holes, 2 USB-C chargers. And then here the shifting lever is integrated right here, is always a dual clutch transmission. And yes, indeed, even if you have the S model, it is also a dual clutch transmission and no torque converter anymore. And then interesting also, as for the cockpit perspective here, when I turn it on, everything, there's the main screen here, 14.5 inch, left side here, 12 inch, and also optional a passenger screen on the right side in 11 inch. If you really need that, that is the thing. Manufacturers rather do that with a focus on Chinese market. In the European and American market, it is not often thought after, let's take it that way, because usually we'd use our own smartphone for that. But you see, you have basically like a same mirroring what you would do in the normal infotainment system right here. And here, by the way, best way to make use of that passenger screen is, of course, to watch some Autogefühl then here on YouTube. You search for a physical dial maybe for the temperature, but it's not there, so I would appreciate that. And that's also a thing I talked about earlier with this ChatGPT list. So this is ticking a lot of boxes, but 2 things are actually missing that the ChatGPT list is suggesting when you build a modern car like in this midsize segment, and that I also argue. First of all, this like because the 12-volt battery is low, because we have been running like the headlamps for a long time. So first of all, offer high-grade leatherette, also animal-free solutions for the seat, and second, do a mix of touchscreen and offering physical dials. And yeah, in a way, with the volume knob, yes, but with the climate knob, no. That's the thing. But there's of course more to discover here. And now also here on the steering wheel, everything is illuminated. Driver POV, now here these fields here at the steering wheel also illuminated from behind. It's also one button, but you do get a clicking feedback. That's nice. Here you can also change the views of the instruments then, for example, like that. On the right side is also then the volume control. So let's say for a capacitive solution, it is quite good one, although I would prefer individual buttons still. As for that, I have to say. Then you see here this one monitor for digital instruments. Then you have a head-up display that is also quite large. It's even larger than it appears on camera. And then the main infotainment unit. The thing is then here for the climate control, I found it a little bit irritating here. You have this ledge here, so to speak. You can, like in a way, rest your hand on it, but then, I don't know, it's weird. Then I think a popped up screen is better to control because it's really complicated to reach it with your finger. So not ideal here with the climate control. I feel that's my biggest criticism with the infotainment system. It has now an Android backend, so promised to be faster and more reliable. We see, of course, with long-term experience as for that, and Apple CarPlay Android Auto connection is always with you, of course. So it looks to be quite quick at first hand. Here you can also change individual settings of the displays and also from the light settings and so on. Yeah, and even a seat massage is available. And about the Bang & Olufsen sound system, it's really interesting because we have these speakers there back, and the thing is, when you're sitting like this, you hardly hear that. And from the front sounds pretty cool actually, and it's also like a little bit distributed between your left and right ear. Only when you turn yourself like with one ear to it, then you can actually hear that's also coming from there. And I have to say, the sound from these small speakers inside the head restraint is not as good when you like explicitly listen to it than from the rest of the system. So I mean, the system is fine, definitely, but this additional feature with the speakers in the seat, I think not really necessary and not really that beneficial, honestly. Let's take a look at the rear seats. First of all, here there's also this structured material on top, so that's nicely done. Then more of the Bang & Olufsen sound system. Here the microfiber on the inside, and once again this Bentley inspired three-dimensional field which you can really touch and so on. Here, however, no felt covering at the inside of the doors. And then what's also interesting here, the top tether at the passenger seat here is really visible, but when you remove it, I'm not sure if that's the best solution, honestly. What do you think? If you are familiar with top tethers, using that for your child seats. Other than that, Isofix at the outside parts each, and these covers are actually way nicer because you can fold them up and they stay in place. You don't need space for them, and you just fold them down like this again. And then we have like a middle console here with the climate unit. If the engine is running, you can also set a seat heating and so on. 2 USB-C chargers. Really large middle tunnel though, definitely. And then, yeah, here there's like for cup holders, this adaptive. And also here when you fold this down up again, this feels really solid and nice. Adaptive they are. So then the ski hatch here when you, just do it. When you do it like that. So there we go. And then, as for the headroom and the knee room, first of all, headroom here, this works with 189, 6'2". The Avant would continue a little bit straighter. There's also a version here with panoramic roof available, this one here without one. And now there's one of the main problems of this vehicle. This. And this is the seat as I would be driving. Yes, I am tall, I have long legs, so this will not count for everyone. If you're not as tall as me and have like a, not as tall driver, then it's better. But here, for example, to use the recess here, the seat would need to be a little bit higher, and this is absolutely not acceptable, this amount of legroom in such a long vehicle. Definitely have to say that. If we think about the segment above that, like A6, BMW 5 Series, Mercedes E-Class, it's also somewhat the case. They are even a little bit longer, and then it works a little bit better, yes. But we have that thing that some of these larger vehicles, they just don't have this good proportion of exterior length to interior space. And this is also not, I mean, the wheelbase has been increased significantly, and I don't see that here. But you can also see that these new seats, they are very voluminous, and that is surely part of the problem. Let's check out the trunk or the boot. If you have a mild hybrid system, 420 liters, because you lose a little bit due to that mild hybrid system compared to a non-mild hybrid system, and the Avant would also offer a little bit more, but here the access is already really good. There's of course the discussion, if you have a separate closed trunk, it's better against burglary, for example. We hear often these arguments from our viewers from South America, for example, who mention that quite a lot. And I mean, when we are traveling in the LA area, we've already seen some parking lots at the mall where there were some, like thefts, break-ins via the window and so on. So that might be a safety aspect indeed. However, on the practical side, This is of course way better. Here also when I remove this top cover here, then you can see the full extent of that. So this is then like the A5 Sportback before, and it's almost like an estate, you know, or like a Skoda Superb sedan. Okay, now I'm banned from any further Audi event probably, if they heard that. Yeah, see here, really well usable. There's also a meter or 40 inches in width, like there, even a little bit more. Of course, this one also fits in vertically, no problem. This is then here, this net where you can secure things underneath. Here's another net, for example, as a splitter, it's also possible. And what's that? Okay. Made in Germany, at least. Yeah, because this one here, the A5, is, by the way, also built in Neckarsulm. It's like a German Audi main town, so to speak. So indeed a German product. I'm not sure, like this is like the, I think, you know, like for the wheels and stuff. Yeah, most of the time probably will not open this cover. Let's take it that way. Then the length here is 1 meter and 10 or 43 inches, and the height here at the highest point is about a little bit less than 70 centimeters or 27 inches. About folding the seats, well, if this cover is removed, then I could theoretically grab over, even though it's not that ergonomically, I would say. The middle part you can also fold down individually. Other than that, from here, like this, there we go. And then to the seat as I would be driving is a length of 1 meter 85 or 73 inches, so very well usable. The Avant would of course continue a little bit more like here, but you see that as for the practicability, there's not much difference than if you take this fastback opening here. So I think that's pretty cool. So this vehicle indeed combines a lot of use cases. And now Leah is showing you the full luggage setup, and also here that an umbrella can actually fit in there lengthwise without folding anything. So yeah, there you can see it can actually easily house a lot of stuff. Whew. Nice acceleration test here at the first end. Actually, you do feel that you're getting pushed from the rear. So one of the main questions was, of course, is it like a feeling of being front wheel biased? And we'll continue to follow that throughout this review. And yeah, from the very first acceleration, I have to say, no, you don't, as I've explained, especially when you hammer it all the way through. Then even more power is sent to the rear wheels, that you can even have more power on the rear axle than on the front axle. And that definitely felt like that. Yeah, and that was 0 to 80 kilometers an hour. Found a way to accelerate just straight out there. From the steering, it's really precise and direct. I like it. Progressive then definitely here, so I don't have to steer that much. And in the dynamic mode, here the suspension is a little bit stiffer. Also the steering has a little bit more feedback. It's very good feedback indeed. And we have 20-inch wheels mounted. There, of course, the question is it maybe too stiff, too uncomfortable as for that? Of course, if you want more comfort, then you would stick with the 19-inch wheels. But here I would say it still works, especially when the road is well done, then there's no problem at all. Of course, we also run through some potholes and stuff and talk more about that. If we switch here, we can do it with the drive select, and we don't have to click anywhere or touch anything in the screen. You can also just press this button here and then click through the modes. That's actually good, and it's actually fairly easy to achieve that. You also have a clicking feedback from that field there in the lower part, so that's fine. And now in the comfort mode, suspension is a little bit more forgiving. Remember, we have the adaptive suspension in this very vehicle here. Still, together with the 20-inch wheels, when you have some potholes in the road, you do feel them, but I would say it's really good. Remembering also with it's an S5, not the base model here, for example. Yeah, you feel it is a sporty suspension. Doesn't mean that it's bad. It's just that you do have this connection to the road, definitely. So I would not recommend going with a fixed sport suspension and 20-inch wheels. That would be the most uncomfortable setup. So I would definitely go with the adaptive suspension, and unless you maybe go like for a base model, which then has way smaller wheels that also even out, you know, the physical part then from the dampening and so on, then, oh, that's an interesting motorcycle, painted all the way in purple. We've seen that. I'm not sure if the camera caught that. That looked pretty cool, actually. So yes, I think base models could work without adaptive suspension, but then here, of course, you have this wider span between sportiness and comfort. And also when you... Oh, bless you. That's interesting. Yeah, we was 30 here for a couple of meters. Obviously, this driver did not agree to the speed limit here. Yeah, but also in the comfort mode, they have a really precise steering. I like that there's no dead zone area, left and right and so on. Fine commands. Let's just try it one more time. See the difference here. So the comfort mode, balance like the normal mode. And then dynamic mode, you also hear that. Yeah, that gives me already a gear lower actually, and then yeah, some more feedback in your steering, but it's actually good in any mode, I have to say. It's also not too loud from the exterior. Of course, we're driving not too quick at the moment, but also from the cars that are passing by and so on. And the tarmac here is actually quite rough, and it's still really silent in here. So especially if you compare then the previous A5 Sportback, indeed the driving refinement is at the higher level. So it definitely feels more sophisticated from what you experience as a driver, what you hear and so on. And also the steering feeling is even finer. But at the same time, it's not like in some other modern new cars that you feel disconnected. This car definitely still gives you, especially as the S model, a connected feeling to the road. It is not like one of these new, for example, there are also like some new EVs there that are really well built and good cars, but they sometimes feel like you're just playing a computer game or something, and there's not a real car behind it, you know what I mean? But this one here, also here like slide, you know, out of the roundabout, then you have the 6-cylinder, have this low frequency sound that really originates from a real engine. At least, of course, there's like a sound actuator that enhances here the stuff that comes to the interior. You still feel that it's a car, and that's something I really like with that one. I mean, talk to Leah here about that already. She says could be more comfortable from suspension for her. But I think it's comparable to our S5, right? Yes. Like, yeah. However, I would feel that maybe it's a little bit more comfortable, so a little bit more refinement in the suspension. But of course, it also totally depends on the individual road conditions here. What I don't find that good while driving is some of the controls. You can go back here to the comfort mode. Like when I adjust the temperature, I think it's just weird to do that here. And then we have like this distance here, so temperature control definitely not my favorite. And also here controlling stuff on the steering wheel, that is definitely so much easier in the previous generation. You know, when you scroll through the menus, for example, in the instruments and stuff like this. So user interface wise, I feel it is rather a step back than a step forward. From driving refinement and how you feel in this vehicle, yeah, I mean, there's some nice things like this, you know, this light strip there in the front, and it definitely gives you a more sophisticated feel. That is actually what I really like about this new generation. Interesting is that especially when you have some stop and go, what happens in the city, and also when you have some here and there like sudden acceleration again, it almost feels plug-in hybrid-like sometimes, because this mild hybrid system is really a huge difference to a previous generation mild hybrid system. So you indeed have moments where you roll electrically, that's it. And also when you accelerate a little bit harder, for example, then sometimes you really feel first this electric boost, and then the combustion engine sets in a little bit, you know? So not as much maybe as with a plug-in hybrid, but definitely, a completely different, more electrified feeling you have here. And from a technology standpoint, that's something good. That's something going forward. If you think about it from a more puristic standpoint and the feeling for the vehicle, that might not be a positive thing. I think it's just a matter of perspective. I usually always think about, hey, either go like combustion engine or go all electric. Both have their pros and cons for sure, and you can argue about that. But I mean, in general, you have the advantage that you have a better fuel efficiency with that system, and then you also have some power boost. So and I think overall you will get used to it. The main aspect about this one is, I feel that it has the same reliability, or maybe it's hopefully even better. Can't comment on that yet, of course. Here, when we're going over some speed humps, suspension also evens it out very well. That's cool. Yeah, it is a sporty suspension, definitely, but I think they really got a good balance of comfort and sportiness, especially if you are in the comfort modes. The sport mode, I would probably use then really when you have like some sporty corners and you really want this little bit more feedback from the engine itself. By the way, if you want to deactivate this speed limit chime, which is really important for the European market, you can also set it here to the favorite button at the steering wheel. So just with one press, then this speed limit beep 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 is being deactivated. That's also a pretty helpful thing for sure. Interesting. So what I really feel when I'm on the throttle is like the power delivery is way more instant than it is with the previous generation 3-liter V6 without the electrification. So this multi-hybrid boost is indeed something that is assisting power, definitely. So that's really such a different feeling to it. So I would say with the previous generation V6, you more have this rather puristic feeling, and when you hit the throttle, there's like a certain, I would say, natural delay, and here it's directly there, that's the thing. So and then again, from the pure performance standpoint, definitely better. From the puristic standpoint, maybe you would even prefer the old one. So that's definitely, I think, just a matter of opinion what you really prefer in that. Well, here the road is getting a little bit wet. This will also be interesting as for traction and the all-wheel drive system and so on. So far, I have to say, I don't really feel a very negative thing. Whoa, this is really wet here now. Interesting. Negative thing as it would be like, I don't feel like a strong front wheel bias or something like that. This seems to be like, seems to be quite some flooding here. Oh, these guys doing a good job keeping it clean. So there we go. Definitely have to pay attention. The sound is also really nice. So it's not too much, but you still have this subtle V6. Yeah, that would be cool, right? Subtle V6 note, definitely. Yeah, still good traction here. Really nice, and also I'm really a fan of the steering. So the car itself, it feels really complete. So it has great driving fun, I really have to say. And driving fun and this balance of sportiness and comfort is always something what the A5 and also the A5, A4 both have been famous for. And I have to say, I don't have any problem with that they are basically replacing both versions. That's actually fine. I mean, it's just like a model policy decision. And I think this one really serves both purposes, and especially here as a sportback, it's really practical. Accelerates also really nicely. It's really cool. So again, here with the S5 model, we are always having the rear axle engaged with the power, plus the torque vectoring. And in the A5 in general, we also have the brake torque vectoring. So when I go into a corner, then also from side to side, the brake power can be distributed to actually help you getting in the corner with the brake torque vectoring. And overall, I really feel it's not a dedicated sports car, but it has so much agility, although it is actually quite long. That's really awesome. So I have a lot of driving fun in this one. I can really say. And let's see here, next tight corner. Now when I accelerate out, there's no one there. Nice from the steering wheel movement. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like a rear-wheel driven car. That's for sure, you know. But when you think about the difference, then there is, like, really with this Quattro Ultra system, the difference is hard to tell. If you would ask me now, is it more driving fun to drive with your standard Quattro Ultra? Tough to say. Maybe you feel it a little bit, because the thing is that with the standard Quattro Ultra, I always have the rear bias, like instantaneously, directly, you know. And here, maybe it takes then like a split second to be activated with more power from the rear. So, it's a really hard question, and that shows that there's like no clear notion in the sense of, hey, this isn't fun anymore, or this is maybe too much front wheel biased. I think here, when I get out of the corner, you really feel it. It accelerates out of the corner very well and in a very agile way. So great driving fun in that one. I found it really cool that they brought this sophistication to it, that although they changed the all-wheel drive philosophy, it's still offering a lot of driving fun, plus refinement, plus a little bit more comfort. Yeah, and also noise insulation wise, I mean, considering also we were at like 80 kilometers an hour here and wet road and passing cars and so on, it's still reasonably silent in here. So great refinement in the drive. So from all we've seen today, there were a lot of pros and cons, definitely, with this new generation here. But driving wise, it is very convincing. Pricing, here the German prices in Europe are already out and starts around 45,000 euros. About 2,000 euros extra, a little bit less for the Avant than for the Estate. If you go for an S5, you're already at around 80,000 euros. And then if you spec some extras, you can get another 10K on top of that. So maybe something 90,000 euros. And that's of course super expensive in the list price. But of course with Audi it's more important as for the leasing rates and what they will offer in that respect there. And yeah, from the experience I made with my personal A5, I would also rather tend on going for a lease at this moment. Also, when you think about, wait a minute, what about a normal A5? If you spec that one properly, we also have another normal A5 review. That one can be easily spec'd to 80,000 euros without having the V6 under the hood. So yes, it's a very expensive vehicle, but the S model is not that expensive in comparison to the normal A5 model. That's a crucial point as well. So can they convince me now to purchase this new generation? First of all, driving wise, it's fantastic. A great compromise of sportiness and comfort at the same time. And especially here in the S configuration, it works very well. Maybe you could still stick with the 19-inch wheels to get a little bit more comfort. That could be one improvement as for that, but it's so much fun to drive, although the wheelbase has been made longer here. So it feels way more agile even than it looks. It feels smaller than it is. And yes, this technology upgrade with the Quattro Ultra and the mild hybrid system makes the car less puristic, less traditional, more in a tech direction. You can argue pro and con about this, definitely, but it still feels really agile, great in performance, and so much driving fun. Then this fastback opening here for the sedan version is really cool, very practical. You can drive like a very beautiful shape on the exterior. You do not have to go for the Avant, for the Estate. At the same time, you have a lot of space there. However, crucial thing is, if rear legroom is important to you, there's hardly anyone in this vehicle here, and that is a big fail actually. So probably the biggest one of this vehicle. There just needs to be more legroom. However, if you go for the standard seats, there should be at least a little bit more than if you go here with the Sport Seats Plus. And yeah, in a car in 2025, there needs to be an animal-free version. The BMW 3 Series and 4 Series are animal-free now from standard, with high-quality materials that even exceed the quality and the longevity of the animal source. So it is possible. Audi just is not ready yet to be consistent also in that approach, because they have great people at Audi, but they still have too many people who think too conservative and don't really pay attention to what's coming. And that's also the thing. I mean, also at this price, yeah, a Tesla Model 3 is half the price and offers more standard equipment and kind of the same performance. That's a big problem, definitely. You know, intentionally compared now like to an electric vehicle, not because it's an electric vehicle, but rather because it's a Tesla Model 3 and about the price-performance ratio, you know what I mean? So yes, pricing-wise, the question is, can you still sell at these high prices? Rather, it will be about the leasing rates. You know that I love my S5 personally, and so I was really anxious to test it here today. But I also had bad experience with you know, how you're being treated at the dealer and the warranty and so on, and the longevity of the parts and so on. So I would be skeptical to buy and hold and would rather go for a lease. So overall, it ticks a lot of boxes, and yeah, among all cars, so much fun on this exterior dimension. So again, I can just stress again that the driving is absolutely fantastic. For me, however, it does not tick all the boxes. So no, they could not convince me yet to purchase one right away. Maybe when it gets a little bit more upgrades or like exactly what I am missing with that vehicle, then maybe. And of course, yeah, the convertible and the coupe, they are gone. So it will be this and the Avant, these two versions for, think about this, A4 sedan, A4 Avant, A5 Sportback, A5 Cabriolet, A5 Coupe. So 5 vehicles become 2. And I mean, in a way it makes sense. You will, however, also lose some customers who bought the individual versions before. But definitely here the sedan or Sportback version, if we can still call it Sportback, works very well.
So what's my decision for today? Tell me yours if you have already picked one. So Mercedes S-Class and Audi A8, they are of course great rides, great luxury vehicles, of course offer you the space in the rear. However, if you rather predominantly drive yourself, then the difference, of course, S-Class versus E-Class and also A8 versus A6 is not that large that the extra price would be justified. So I think the extra price is only justified if you really need that rear extra legroom. I feel that the Mercedes E-Class is always a great pick because it has this special E-Class driving experience. You start driving it and you immediately feel, hey, wow, that's a Mercedes E-Class and nothing else. That's really interesting, you know. So something that rarely happens with other vehicles, and I think the offering is still very good. I also really like their so far platform for the big vehicles at Audi, like the A6, A7, A8 and so on. The Audi A7 is to me the most beautiful vehicle here in this overall comparison, and it's still doing a very good job. And A6 or A7, it's really more the exterior and of course the trunk difference, where you have this fastback opening with the A7 or the closed off trunk with the A6. The thing is that price performance wise, especially an A6 can be bought relatively cheap on the used car market. So I think the price performance winner would be an A6 here today. If we look at the smaller vehicles, C-Class versus A4, yes, the C-Class maybe gives you a little bit more luxury features. However, the Audi A4 has better seat ergonomics and also a better user interface. Interesting that the successor, the Audi A5 in that new generation, it actually has a better driving experience. So in that mid-size segment, it probably tops all of the competitors now. However, it has also grown in size, whereas it is not that large for the interior space, and the user interface is worse than before, although it's definitely also a nice pick. The new A5 can also be very expensive when you spec it, and then of course the question is if it's then already making sense to go up a segment for the A6 or A7 again, or then the Mercedes E-Class. The A7, by the way, always more expensive than the A6 because it's more exclusive, although it doesn't really deliver much more, honestly. It's more about the design, of course. So the overall pick to me would be, if price doesn't play a role, Mercedes E-Class. And if it's more a budget decision, then rather look out for a used Audi A6 or Audi A7, whatever the market is offering. The A6 would probably be the best price-performance deal in that respect. So what do you think about my choices, and also what is yours? Give me your opinion in the comments and tune in for more comparison reviews.